Magnus Carlsen is now only 1.5 points away from defending his World Championship title. It's gonna take the biggest comeback in chess history for Nepomniachtchi to recover from his 3 losses. Will Magnus Carlsen, with the white pieces today, go for the kill? Or can Nepomniachtchi give his fans a tiny hope? Welcome everyone to Chess 24 Global. We started the World Championship match with a 4-1 score in classical chess in favor of Nepomniachtchi, winning 3 out of the 4 last games now. Magnus Carlsen has tied that score to 4-4. And, well, David, are we witnessing a collapse by the challenger?
I guess we could say that, but it's perfectly understandable. Even such greats as Garry Kasparov has lost 3 matches in a row in World Championships, and it's incredibly tough. The pressure, the tension, the expectation, we can't blame Nepomniachtchi at all. Magnus as well, he's been ruthless when given the chance, so I'm still optimistic of some exciting games ahead.
Do you think Magnus will now keep being ruthless, go for that kill, or calm it down and get the 3 draws that he now needs to get his to defend his title?
Yeah, it's difficult to predict. I'm going to say he would love to win, of course, but he won't take any risks. So he'll play solid and he'll maybe hope that Jan does make another blunder or does push a bit too hard, and then he'll try and pounce.
Yeah, it's supposed to last, so it's best out of 14 games, this World Championship match. How many games will it take before it is over?
It feels like it might be over this weekend at some point. It depends on today, of course, but if Nepomniachtchi does avoid defeat, then we might see another couple of games. So I'm going to say we'll go to Game 12, potentially, and hopefully we'll see Nepomniachtchi take some risks before that.
What should the people around Nepomniachtchi now tell him? What should they say to him for him to at least find some joy, tiny, tiny hope in the last few games here?
Yeah, actually, being a chess player myself, I would prefer maybe nothing to be said to me, in a way. I think Nepomniachtchi just needs to go back to himself, just needs to embrace the fact he is a dynamic player, he is an attacking player. No more being solid, no more listening to all this kind of differing advice. Just be himself, and that's the best chance. And
he did come ready to fight Nepomniachtchi for a win in Game 9 yesterday, but it all went horribly wrong.
Gone for the English.
Yeah.
He presses the clock.
There we go.
Oh, wow!
I did call it, actually.
Oh. How big of a surprise is this?
Pretty big surprise. Magnus just retreating. That's a grandmaster move if I ever saw one. That's the type of move that separates kind of these 2800s from the rest of us, just because Magnus may be seeing deeper.
Look at this, you guys.
Oh.
This is what happened. Did Magnus touch that piece? And then he made that move.
Hold on, that is an insanely important moment, because if he even brushed that piece...
Does he touch it?
It looks like he does.
If that's touched, then Jan has got real grounds for...
What can he do?
But Jan wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there. If Jan had been sitting at the board...
Yeah, he could have...
He could have gone touch, move. You touched the piece, you have to move it.
Okay.
Wow.
What is that?
Something's up. Something's up today.
That? Something is strange with Magnus today. We had a huge blunder in Dubai. What has happened, David?
Nepomniachtchi, he actually played the move we pointed out earlier. It's a very natural move, but it's also a mistake. I'm not sure exactly what he's miscalculated, but black now can simply push the black c-pawn forward and cage that white bishop. That white bishop is trapped. It's going to fall. And this was just going to be winning for Magnus Carlsen.
Wow.
Handshake.
Game 9 is over. A terrible blunder by Nepomniachtchi.
Yeah, c5 was just extremely careless.
Magnus, three-point lead. The chess world seems to believe that the match is over. How accurate is that?
It's not 100% accurate, but yeah, it's obviously looking great now.
It definitely is looking great for Magnus Carlsen. He is now on 6 points after 9 games. It is the first player to reach 7.5 points. That will be crowned the winner, winning now 3 games out of the 4 last games. Magnus Carlsen is doing great. Nepomniachtchi, he now has 5 games left to play, and he has to win 3 of them to take this one to tie breaks. It's looking difficult, to say the least, for Nepomniachtchi. And today, as yesterday, we are joined by International Master Lawrence Trent in the studio. Nice to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
What a debut in the studio yesterday. One of the strangest days in chess I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, an incredibly strange day. So many different moments in that particular game. Everything about it was weird, from the moves to the weird things off the board, on the board. It was. I have to say, in my years of commentating as well, it was one of the strangest days, and obviously a very, very disappointing day for Nepomniachtchi, who simply collapsed and made a terrible blunder. And now has got, I think you used this word, a Herculean task to recover, and that's really what it is. If we witness some kind of recovery over these next few games, I think it will be the greatest we've ever seen in chess. So, big task ahead of him, but let's see what happens.
And a big day for him. Now, we heard in the video also, Magnus, talk about the touch move. Was it a touch move? Was it not a touch move? Magnus was very critical to the journalist who asked him a question about it in the press conference yesterday. But really, Jovanka, it is a big point. You're not allowed to touch a piece and not move it.
You're not allowed to touch a piece with intent. And I know the arbiters themselves don't really like this rule. It's very kind of unclear as to when you have intention, because how can someone judge that? But yeah, those are the rules. So technically, he should have been forced to move that piece. But the arbiter said nope. So we'll see what happens to that rule.
Yeah, and the game obviously went on, and it did see that big blunder from Nepomniachtchi. Now, David, is that a blunder that basically happens out of psychology, mentality? It's just the situation in the match?
Yep, it's 100% down to the psychology. It's not because Jan misses these types of things. I mean, his ability is incredibly high. He's one of the best players in the world, and to miss something like that, just a simple, basic technique like getting your bishop trapped, it's uncharacteristic, and we can only put it down to the tension of the moment. So I'm not expecting anything like that anymore. He's made a couple of blunders in the last 2 days, but that's out of his system now, and no matter how the result goes, no matter how good the game goes, I think we'll see him maybe a bit more relaxed today, just because he has nothing left to lose now.
And it was the 3rd win for Magnus, and that had him tweet again, Jovanka.
It did. He did tweet, and he told us all that he should find the beauty in repetition.
I've heard that before.
And that's as a response to his earlier tweet of yes. So Magnus feeling confident there.
Yeah, and we do want the viewers at home as well to tweet.
Yes, we absolutely do. You know, this match has been absolutely wonderful, and we want you at home to be very much part of this experience. So we're asking you to tweet us your move suggestions, your thoughts, and also your selfies. Yeah. So you need to take out your cameras, put them in landscape mode, and show us who you're watching the match with, where you're watching the match from, and of course we will feature them on the show. And you can do all this by tweeting us using the hashtag C24Live.
Yep. All right, the Game 10, it starts in 21 minutes. We're going to head down to Dubai and hear some reactions on site about what is happening and what has been happening in the World Championship match over the last few games.
Yesterday we saw a tremendous collapse in the World Chess Championship. Nepo almost self-destructed, and people are basically shocked. Let's see if we can get some reactions. Here with us today we have Women International Master Ashlyn Martinez. Thanks for joining us. What do you think about the collapse we saw yesterday?
Well, it was a bit sad actually to see that, because the game was super interesting until that moment, and I think nobody expected something like that. But well, it is what it is, and I think after a couple of games with these blunders, it's more and more we are used to, let's say, to see more I don't know, these kind of blunders or stuff.
What do you think we can expect from the rest of the match?
I think like from now on, Nepo has to try to go for it, try to attack as much as possible and like go for the entire point. So I think it's going to be super exciting, super aggressive games and everything like is coming now. And the flag is coming here as well.
And we're going to see some exciting chess. I hope so as well. You're doing some exciting chess here. So you work at the Spanish pavilion here at the Expo. Can you explain to us what you do?
So every day during the World Chess Championship, we've been trying to promote chess and use actually the Spanish pavilion. We have an agreement with them to promote chess as a cool activity. So basically we have the giant chess set there, the whole wall that probably everyone like saw already through you with the history of chess, but every day also we accept challenge here. So in the board with the clock, with the real pieces, and also with our phones using the new app that we have. So, well, also I can invite everyone if you want to challenge and lose against me, I hope. You can challenge me actually in Chess24. We have this cool t-shirt, as you can see.
Oh, that is your username on Chess24?
Yeah.
So how if I was to challenge you and maybe you would blunder mate in one against me? Sorry, I'm sorry. So how would I do that?
You just have to register in chess24.com and create your username and then challenge. You can even create and also challenge me in the apps or in the web. And in my username is Agile Chess. I'm happy to play especially bullet 1 minute games. But yeah, actually I'm really big fan of chess. Like I am really lucky actually to work in a chess company, but like happy to play any kind of game. And also my team and like everyone in the chess community.
Can we challenge everybody who works here?
Yeah, actually we have Laura, Rosario as well there. You can challenge. And all the Chess24 staff for sure is going to be there, happy. And they could also challenge their friends. It's really easy nowadays with this new app. So yeah, I'm really happy actually to have this new feature with the app especially, that you can invite the friends super easily.
Thank you so much. So there we have it from a Women International Master, Ashilin Martinez. Ashilin. An exciting game today because Ian just has to go for it now. There is no more waiting around. Full throttle. Back to the guys in the studio.
All right, definitely do head into Chess24 and challenge some of the staff. And also you now get 40% off Chess24 Premium using this code, especially for the World Chess Championship match. There's a new play zone that is absolutely fantastic. So we do advise everyone to check out Chess24. And Agile is also predicting a thrilling ending to the World Championship match. Do you agree, David?
I agree. I have a feeling it's going to be a decisive game. I'm not sure in whose favour. Yesterday, it really stung me in the prediction challenge that I changed my mind last minute away from a decisive result. So today, I'm going to say that it will be a Magnus win. And I'm also predicting a different opening. I think Jan will mix things up a bit more aggressive this time, maybe with a Sicilian defence.
Okay. How about you, Jovanka?
I've predicted very much the same. It's do or die time for Nepomniachtchi, so he can't just repeat the same opening choices as before. He has to mix it up. He has to play aggressively. He has to come out swinging. This is high-risk strategy, so I do think that we will also see a decisive game. I've actually gone for Magnus winning.
I went for a draw. Let's take a look at the standings in the Magnus Nepo prediction challenge. David Howell has been on top of the table. Evie and Popatronics yesterday had a great round, and they did go past him. But David, 97 points, only 5 points behind them, so still have hopes of winning this.
Yeah, I still have hopes, and that's my one goal now before the end of the championship. 4th place is not good enough.
And the winner actually gets a signed chessboard by Magnus Carlsen. That would be nice, David, to get in your apartment.
I've got my eyes on the prize, and I'm sure Jan Nepomniachtchi also has his eyes on the prize. One game at a time for him. He's not arriving with his team today. Is that correct?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. There he is with Vladimir Potkin and Sergei Karyakin.
Aha!
First time we've seen Karyakin travel with Nepomniachtchi.
Yeah.
Apparently, Karyakin was just summoned to Dubai. They didn't even ask him. They just bought tickets for him. That's what he told the Norwegian reporters.
So then he just had to go down. Well, it hasn't been successful helping Jan yesterday, but maybe Karyakin can help him out today. What do you expect from Jan today, Lawrence?
I don't know, but if anybody wants to buy me tickets to Dubai, I'll be there in a jiffy.
Help.
Yeah, I think I'm not really sure. I mean, look, his task is just tremendous.
Yeah.
It would require. We spoke about it yesterday. I think the key word is luck. He needs to get lucky. He needs a break. He needs Magnus to have a moment of madness, a moment of Magnus on the board, where Magnus just does something crazy and he gets a chance. And if he gets that chance and he takes it, that would be astonishing, and that could be a real momentum shift. Now, of course, after that, Magnus is still a huge favourite. Right. Even if Jan wins today, Magnus is a monster favourite, but a loss today with white would really upset Magnus. It would really bother him, because suddenly he has to play hard again, and, you know, he's almost thinking, wow, with this advantage, he might even be able to play on autopilot. He's taking no risk, as Jovanka said. This is a low-risk strategy. He can make it as boring as possible. He doesn't have to try anything spicy on the board. He just needs to not lose.
Exactly.
So Jan, really, I hope he's had a little prayer this morning, because that's what he's going to need. To make this competitive.
Well, he has arrived at the arena, Jan Nepomniachtchi, for Game 10, starting in 14 minutes. We'll have a quick commercial break, and we'll be back in an instant.
Today, more than ever, when the world comes together to create a better tomorrow.
It's going to be magic.
La magie. Magic.
Magic with music.
With architecture.
With colors.
Magic with celebration.
With your safety.
From here.
There.
And everywhere.
For 6 whole months, day and night.
Join the making of a new world, starting October 1st.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world, fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Game 10 in Dubai is starting shortly. Now, yesterday we told you the story about Magnus Carlsen in 2002 when he went on a year-long road trip with his family. And it was during this year that he became one of the youngest grandmasters in history. And guess where it all happened? In Dubai.
So I hope to become a grandmaster this year.
And is that realistic?
Yes, I think quite realistic.
he struggled a bit in the autumn trying to take GM norms. That turned out to be difficult for some months, but then we had a month break after he played a tournament in Budapest end November, early December. And during that month, it seemed that everything he had learned during the autumn matured in a way. He came back in January clearly with Grandmaster level strength and created havoc in the C group in Vacancy basically. He took another GM norm in Moscow in February. He didn't manage on Iceland in March.
He had gotten his norms like quite in a succession, and then he played, I think, the tournament in Iceland where he didn't get a norm, which he thought was really disappointing. And I mean, even though it was not like huge goal to become like a Grandmaster at a certain time point, it's you know, it's cool to have become a Grandmaster as early as possible, because that's something that stands there in the history books.
For some time I thought maybe he benefited a lot from being young and underestimated, so that I more or less in every tournament that spring I expected that, well, maybe he stopped winning, maybe it's back to normal now, but at that point he had 3 or 4 very successful tournaments, and it went also well in Dubai. He had a lot of confidence, and with 2 rounds to go I think he needed 1 point to take a GM norm.
Before the last game that in that tournament in Dubai, I think he was really excited, and he had done really great preparations for that game.
I still very much remember the nervousness that I felt on the day and the game where I finally got the title, and my opponent, I think, offered a draw in a somewhat worse position, and frankly, I mean, I couldn't have taken the draw any faster, because I just wanted the title.
We went to celebrate at McDonald's, which was like not like where we would go to eat every day, and he even got ice cream. So
proud dad. That's the International Grandmaster title diploma that he received from FIDE. So at 13 he became one of the youngest ever.
It's funny to think of that it's almost 17 years ago. I've been now Grandmaster for much longer than I haven't.
And he could be about to enter his, what will it be? 9th year as a world champion, Magnus Carlsen, if he defends his title in Dubai. And we're going to go straight down to Dubai, to Tanya. Still, of course, a lot of big reactions after the drama yesterday. Tanya, are you all, you know, calm down and ready for Game 10 now?
Absolutely ready to see the action that Magnus now brings on with the white pieces in Game 10. We're outside the playing hall. And while we've seen more decisive games in this World Championship match than what we're used to, the general reactions are around a very mixed emotion, mixed feelings about what's going on as Magnus Carlsen looks all set to get his 5th title. Jan Nepomniachtchi, the challenger, has been struggling with what is perhaps the biggest meltdown in the history of World Championship matches. 5 games remain, 3 points behind, but it's not as much about the score as it is about the uncharacteristic blunders that we've been seeing. And I've got with me Grandmaster Yevgeny Romanov. Yevgeny, would you have ever imagined the match to shape up this way?
Actually, it was my prediction kind of this way, because I felt that probably Jan would not be able to keep the concentration on the needed level. That's a matter of experience, matter of character. So I suppose that, of course, score is a little bit too big. Yeah, so +3 is a big lead. But anyway, Magnus was clear favorite, at least to me, according to my imagination. And I'm always very surprised how he can to put himself together for a concrete event. So he managed to win, I think, more games than everybody expected, or he won in previous championships since Sochi. So that's very important how it goes, and I think the shape of Jan is not such perfect, and also psychologically he's going more or less down after every game. Therefore, if we are talking about today, I expect more or less calm game. Magnus has no need to win more, as well as Jan really needs to recover to spend one more rest days, and then I wait for some action.
What are you expecting going forward? Will Jan just want this nightmare to be over, or do you think accepting the match situation, we will see a more pressure-free fighting Jan?
Jan is always fighting, so he has a very strong character in this way, and I expect him to continue fight. Of course, it's nightmare, but it's nightmare if it comes before the rest day, as everybody said, because you're like continue thinking and you can't stop thinking in better manner. Now he has the chance. So draw is fine result. Of course, if you're not talking about the win or kind of extra opportunity, but I suppose it will bring a better mood and fighting mood for next days.
Thank you so much, Yevgeny. Well, the one thing we do know about the Russian challenger is that he is a fighter. We've seen that in the candidates. Game 10's about to lift off. Let's see what Jan brings to the board.
Thank you so much, Tanya. We are looking forward to a great Game 10 in Dubai, and we'll be back to check in with you later. Here comes Magnus Carlsen with his black suit, ready for Game 10, together with his trainer, Peter Heine-Nielsen. And David, do you think Team Carlsen with Peter Heine-Nielsen, the main man, how happy are they so far with what they've done for Magnus?
They will be over the moon. First of all, I should say it's a bit of a surprise to see Magnus wear a black shirt when he's got the white pieces.
Oh, that's true.
But then again, yeah, the team, they will be very happy. Their strategy has paid off. They were happy to be solid, calm, patient at the beginning of the match. And once that chance arose in Game 6 to tire out Nepomniachtchi, Magnus pounced on that. And ever since, it's been a completely different complexion of the match. So I think they've done everything they needed to. And Magnus will be very happy with the work of his team.
How about Team Nepo, Jovanka?
Well, I think everyone would be feeling disappointed, but they have to hide it because now is not the time for emotions. Now is just the time for happiness, I think I might quote Dumbledore here. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, only if you remember to turn on the light. And that's the kind of philosophy that you need to have to get through moments like this. Like even Kasparov, had a banner on his wall when he was training that said, "If not you, then who?" So you gotta fall back on those psychological comforts.
All right. What do you guys have any chess mottos that you live by in hard times or good times?
I'll let you start, David.
Don't blunder. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, everyone has different ways of psyching themselves up. For me, it's listening to music maybe or watching an inspirational movie, but I don't really talk to myself in terms of mottos.
Yeah.
It's more kind of at the board. It's just like, come on, you can do this.
Yeah. How about you? It would be typical you, Jovanka, to have one.
Yeah, I do have a. Yeah, so whenever I'm pacing, I'm like calm, confident, like calm, confident. Because confidence is such an important thing in chess. Because if you don't feel it, you're not going to show it.
Calm and confident. How about you, Lawrence?
I don't really have a motto. I just say, play like Magnus today and you'll do fine. Doesn't tend to work out. That's the only problem. So I need to rework that.
WWMD, what would Magnus do?
Yeah, what would Magnus do here?
Got it. Okay. I have my life motto. Sometimes I try to remind myself to enjoy the journey, basically. So the journey is the destination.
I like that.
But I don't know if that works for chess.
I think so.
Enjoy the game.
There's a famous one, becoming is better than being.
Becoming is better than being. Okay.
So maybe that's what it is for Jan Nepomniachtchi now. Just enjoy being in a World Championship match and maybe you'll get some wins out of it. We are waiting for the two players. Magnus with the white pieces today. Jan in, basically, we should call it a must-win situation, right?
Yeah. A draw and Magnus would only be 1 point away from the title. With 4 games remaining, it's hard to envisage him not succeeding there. So for Jan, despite having black, he's going to be throwing everything at Magnus.
Yeah, and there is a special guest doing the opening move today. Jovanka, you told me you read something about that.
We'll see actually when we get the camera, but I did see some pictures of the Emirates' first female racing driver, so it would be cool if she played the first move.
That would be very cool. We do see Maurice Ashley initiating what will be the first move yesterday for the first time in the match. The move stayed on the board. It was Gukesh, wasn't it?
It was
No, Pragnananda was it. Made the first move, the English opening. For the first time in the match, Jan Nepomniachtchi kept that move. So will that happen today as well? What opening are you guys predicting?
Personally, I'm not predicting the English opening. I think Magnus will stick with his king's pawn. Nearly any time he's happy with a draw with the white pieces, he plays 1e4. And then I'm expecting Jan to do anything other than the Petrov defense, which he has been employing throughout the tournament, throughout the match so far. I'm assuming either Sicilian, just because it's so combative, so counter-attacking, or the French defense.
Okay. What opening would have you sort of give out the biggest yell of appreciation, Lawrence, if you saw from Magnus and Nepo today?
B6, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nepo in a must-win situation, he can play the Sicilians, he can play the French as we expect those, but if he was really daring, he would play the move 1b6, which everybody can find a full repertoire on by yours truly.
Ooh, that's true.
On Chessable, on sale now. I should say that. Chessable course, 1b6 against everything. Is Nepo going to do it? He probably won't.
He's done it before.
He has done it before. Even Magnus has played it against Elyanov in a must-win situation because it doesn't force the issue. It's a bit of a sideline. If you guys are interested, get yourselves over to Chessable, 1b6 against everything.
So you would go to Chessable and just search for Lawrence Trent or 1b6?
That's it. You can search for Lawrence Trent. You can search for 1b6, and you'll find the course. And then we have the honorary move by, I believe.
The first Emirati female racing driver, and her name is Amna Al-Kubaisi.
Wow, that is impressive to be a racing driver at all.
Yeah.
I would not.
She likes speed chess.
Exactly. She's hoping for a blitz game. Is Magnus Carlsen keeping her move on the board, or will it be something else?
Looks like
yes.
I think he gave some guidance there. And he feels the need for speed as well, clearly inspired by the racing driver. It is 1e4 and e5. Bit of a surprise. So Jan is sticking to the most solid move, the most solid opening move. No Sicilian, no 1b6 Lawrence.
Very surprised.
Okay.
What are we going to get after knight f3? What does he want? Well, Magnus is going to ask the question and we're going to find out.
Elephant gambit.
Well, I was going to say, are we going to get the Latvian gambit there? Wow.
What? The Petrov defense on the board.
I'm in shock, really. I mean, I don't understand it, to be honest.
On Nepo, from Nepo's side?
Yeah. And
Jan's side.
we described it as a must-win situation, and this is the most drawish opening in chess. This is where Black just tries to hold the balance, exchange off some central pawns, neutralise White. It'll be symmetrical, and as we actually saw in Game 8 just a couple of days ago, Magnus managed to seize the initiative in a very symmetrical position and just squeeze out a tiny advantage and turn that into a win.
Didn't Magnus sort of initiate something very drawish that sort of Jan said, no, I'm going to try?
Exactly. Magnus basically offered a trade of queens. Jan could have swapped the queens off in Game 8 a few days ago, and we would have ended up in a draw. Magnus would have maintained the 1-point lead, but what happened was that Jan avoided that trade of queens, ended up going down in flames. So...
Is this Jan telling us he's given up?
I think we're reluctant to say it, but quite possibly.
I mean, unless his strategy is to just get to the rest day, make a draw, and just go all in you know, after a day of recharging, and he's got 4 games where he has to win 3, and he just goes all in there. But with time so precious, I really hate the choice. I certainly, if I was in Jan's camp, I wouldn't have advised him for this, because you really leave yourself close to no time. I mean, you still have to win a game with Black, even after the rest day. So, what are your thoughts, Jovanka? I don't understand
if you draw this, and there's no guarantee you'll draw this. But
exactly.
You'll be fighting for that half point.
I was thinking hard about this. I mean, like, what would Nepomniachtchi do? And I think the situation is very, very tough for him. I mean, yesterday's blunder would shake up any person. And then on top of that, we have the blunders from Game 6 and Game 8.
But you can't look back.
I know you can't look back. But I don't know. If I were in his shoes and I didn't have a team behind me, I might be just thinking, let's just get this match over with.
I don't think... No, I mean, I don't think that's that can be.
No, but it can't be, right? That's just
right.
what I would be thinking of. No team, but I mean, there has to be either. This is very sophisticated type of, you know, he's kind of saying, well, Magnus may be predicted as a Sicilian, but I'm gonna take him to Petrov and then just keep the game alive, keep it going for as long as possible. But I agree with you.
Jan isn't that cynical. He's not that negative. It's not who he is. Something must just be wrong. And either it's the advice from his team saying just be solid and then you win the 3 out of the last 4 games, or, as you mentioned, he's maybe just slightly given up on his hopes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, this position, we should mention, Magnus, meanwhile, has gone and captured Black's central pawn. The knight now getting kicked back, and then Black will regain the pawn in the centre. This is still very standard stuff. We've seen this position before in the match, I think in Game 4. And Magnus slightly surprised by this choice.
That's why he's thinking.
It's the, sorry, just to say, it's the typical Russian strategy, we should mention. Their one rule is you should never castle queenside, and by that they mean have 3 losses in a row. Because in notation in chess, we would put 0-0-0, and maybe he's just trying to avoid this 3rd loss in a row. But,
wow.
OK, meanwhile, Magnus retreating his knight in this direction. He actually used this against Caruana in 2018, this knight retreat. And his plan is to swap off queens as quickly as possible. That game ended in a draw, I should mention, when Magnus last used this move. Yeah, OK. The Black Knight captures the pawn. It's a very symmetrical pawn structure. Magnus will now bring his queen out to pin this Black Knight, and Black will do likewise. Black will bring the queen out to break the pin. Lawrence, thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was hoping for fireworks today. We're definitely not going to get that. We're going to get a slow game. Again, yeah, I don't really understand the strategy. I'll be very curious if he's asked this in the press conference afterwards by a journalist why he went for such a well, I mean, the chance of him winning a game like this is minuscule. He gives himself almost 0 chance. Why he chose this with just 5 games to go.
Yeah. And,
I don't know.
And I'm just checking on the G-Chess site, and it actually has a chess article on this exact variation. And I have to read to you the kind of intro. Patience, and this is actually an article written for the white side.
Okay.
Patience is not passive. On the contrary, it is concentrated strength. Bruce Lee, a man who is a master of patience, is master of everything else. So this is kind of like the strategy for white. Patience, bide your time. There is a little bit of venom in the position. Gosh.
Yeah. And maybe, Jovanka, I mean, G-chess is such a good tool. You can check out the games from this position. And I know I've had this position myself from the black side against Jeffrey Jiang. And, yeah, you're right. Patience is the key to this position because the queens at some point will disappear on this open line. The black knight from the centre will get kicked back. It's roughly level. White maybe has the slight advantage, if anything, just because White has the first move. And there we go. Jan already retreats his knight from the centre. The queens are about to leave the board. And patience on Magnus's part here just means getting the queens off and just trying to nurse a tiny, tiny advantage. But it's roughly level. Yeah. It's hard to foresee anything other than a draw in this game already.
A quick draw, or will it still take some time, though?
Well, I think there's no way to force the draw, and they can't offer a draw before move 40, right? So
luckily that rule's in place. The move 40 is the golden number.
Well, it could be kind of interesting because Tanya right now did an interview with Sergei Karyakin, so I think actually, even if some moves might be coming out, we're gonna head down to Dubai right now to hear from someone that we now know is a helper for Jan Nepomniachtchi. Is this move something we should talk about?
No, White just taking the centre with a pawn, Jan challenging the centre, bringing out pieces. I think we'll just see some quiet manoeuvring over the next few turns, so the nature of the position won't change too much. The queens will come off and then manoeuvring. OK,
well, let's go to Dubai to hear from Tanya and Sergei Karyakin.
We've got with us the 2016 World Championship challenger, Grandmaster Sergei Karyakin, who's part of Jan Nepomniachtchi's team. Sergei, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sergei, tell us, you have just arrived in Dubai 2 days ago. I mean, in this modern era, you were, of course, helping online, but you decided to come here. How come?
Well, it was suggestion from Magnus' team and Jan personally, so I thought that if they want me to come, why not? I will come and try to help.
Absolutely. And now you have been part of Team Nepomniachtchi. Things haven't gone your way. Sergey, what do you think went wrong?
Well, somehow we don't have luck in this match because Magnus was worse in Game 2, he was worse in Game 6, which he won, and later on, two last wins, it was just equal positions. So just somehow Magnus gets every single point he can, and Jan is just giving up the unnecessary, completely unnecessary points. But I hope the luck will come and Jan will win something.
You had a tweet yesterday with just one word which said insane, and that kind of summed up your reaction to what we were seeing with the move c5?
Yes, because I know Jan. We all know him, how good he is, and I know that even in Blitz he will not play such move. So I believe it's not only about chess, but it's also some other things, maybe psychological things, maybe something else he should answer himself.
And Sergey, now Magnus mentioned that what happened in Game 6 perhaps has a big role to play the way the match has shaped up. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I totally agree, because in the first part of the match, Magnus didn't get any advantage with white. He was clearly, he didn't know what to do, and in Game 6 he was even worse at some point, and if Jan would take that pawn on b4, Magnus had to work for a draw very, very hardly, and I'm not sure that he would escape that position, and the match will be totally different. And with this luck, the match changed very much, and somehow Jan didn't manage to recover, or maybe something else.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, Sergey, you've been the only challenger who actually took the lead in the World Championship match against Magnus. Being part of Jan's team and with that experience, what was it that you brought to the team, or your contribution? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I tried to share my experience, but also you should understand that we have different style of playing, and Jan likes very dynamic positions, and Magnus and probably me at some point, we are more positional, let's say, players. So it was just impossible to force Jan to play the chess which doesn't suit him. So he tried to be himself, but at some key moments it didn't work. And of course in the Game 6 he could take on f6 with a queen and just make a quick draw, or in the game in Petrov after queen e1 he could play queen e7 and make a fast draw, or yesterday he could make a fast draw, but I mean, I don't know, somehow it's very unnecessary and disappointing.
The World Championship matches have this different dynamic. Magnus has mentioned himself that the pressure and the tension is so high. You've of course experienced it. Do you think that has a big role to play with these mistakes?
Yes, for sure, because it's a first match for Jan and it's a fifth match for Magnus, so he is much more experienced on this type of chess, of tournaments. So for Jan it was more difficult, and I know from my experience that when it's just two players, everyone is watching, everyone is looking at you very deeply, so it's more difficult.
And going forward, 5 games remain. What are your expectations from these 5 games?
Well, I just hope that Jan will show how good he can play chess. I mean, I understand very well that it's already very difficult to win this match, almost impossible. But at least he can show his best chess and to make problems to Magnus, and then let's see what happens.
Thank you so much for your time, Sergey. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Grandmaster Sergey Karyakin, the 2016 World Championship challenger.
And he is saying it's a lot about luck. Do you guys agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I mean, certainly moments, if we can call it that. Sergey was talking about that moment in Game 6 where if he took the pawn on b4, which was the obvious, you know, when you look at it with sober eyes, even Jan would play that in a blitz game. If he had gone with his instinct and his intuition there, the match would be completely different. He would have been pushing in that game. Magnus would have to try and fight for a draw, and who knows where we would be now.
Exactly, yeah.
So that was a moment, a turning point, and you spoke about this as well yesterday, Kaja, momentum. We're talking about momentum shifts in chess. That was a big one. So amazing how just the entire history of this game can revolve around a single moment, and I think that was a big turning point.
And Karyakin in 2016, he was maybe the victim of a bit of lack of luck, actually. In the only game he lost to Magnus, he was leading the match. He's the only player who's actually ever beaten Magnus with black in the World Championship. But yeah, he took the lead, and then a couple of games later, he could have forced a draw, but he missed it. And I think any other day, he would have seen it. He missed it and went down in that game, and that's how Magnus struck back. I think if he'd saved that game, maybe we would have seen a Russian world champion. And it's unsurprising that he was asked to be part of Nepomniachtchi's team. But then again, he's got such a kind of polar opposite playing style to Jan Nepomniachtchi that you've got to question the wisdom of maybe kind of having all these different players in your team who don't necessarily kind of share the same chess philosophy. So slightly surprising there. But meanwhile, yeah, chess, it's all down to these one moves here and there. That changed the course of history, changed the course of matches like this. But Sergei Karyakin there. Interesting to see his words. Jovanka, you thought he didn't sound too optimistic.
No, sadly I didn't. And I do feel when you're in these kind of impossible situations, you do need to surround yourself with this impossible optimism, you know. It really helps. Even if it's just ridiculous, you know, yeah, you can do it. You can win the next 5 games in a row, you know. It's like, okay, well, I'll try. And yeah, I was a little bit concerned actually by how deflated it all seemed. And if that's the energy in the camp, then it does seem that they're just thinking, okay, right, the best thing now is just for Jan to enjoy the game, try his best, but objectively it is all over, which is the realistic approach. I get that, but I feel it should be a bit more positive.
Yeah. Well, Magnus is thinking for 8 minutes now on this move. What is that about?
Yeah, it's very strange. It looks like he has a pretty much automatic move here, an automatic reply, Magnus Carlsen. And in the position, black has just moved the knight out. I'm expecting the white central pawn to be defended. What else? The knight is threatening this pawn. You can take the queens at any moment. I don't think this queen trade's going to run away, so why not defend your pawn? And this structure actually is perfect against the black knight, because this pawn controls the black knight. Personally, I'm surprised it landed on this square. It looks completely controlled now, this knight, and yeah, if anyone's got the advantage here, it must be white. What else could Magnus be thinking about? Is he really going to block the queen trade by bringing his bishop out to defend the pawn? That looks a bit clumsy. This queen now is just in the way of this bishop. I know it's the same for black, but black maybe here is slightly ahead in development. Black can bring the bishop out, castle. At least then it would be imbalanced. At least then Nepomniachtchi would have some chances. So I expect Magnus to play this move eventually. Maybe he's just adapting to this unexpected scenario.
But I just wanted to say one thing that I've noticed is a huge change, at least in my books. I think that this knight move, maybe it's a clever way of getting out of Magnus's prep. But look who's sitting at the board. For the first time.
Oh, that's true.
He's at the board, which means he is fully engaged, ready for the fight. Because before we saw him in his playing room, and he was just observing the game from the screen. So he's realised that didn't work.
Yeah, he got criticism for that from many quarters. Yeah, from many top players, from many experienced grandmasters, Jan. So definitely sitting at the board seems to be part of his new strategy for Game 10. Meanwhile, yeah, if the pawn pushes forward, I'm expecting the queens to come off at some point. Maybe black will bring a bishop out first. Eventually, the queens will disappear, and then white can just start to maneuver. When I had this type of position from the black side against Jeffrey Zhong, a very strong American grandmaster, he just pushed a pawn at some point, just tried to gain space on the king's side. And when this was prevented, you can just fix your own knight as well on this square, and then slowly you maneuver around. You bring this knight into the game, maybe. You just put your king on a very safe square. It's very level in general, but maybe white has the easier play just because this knight is dominated by this pawn. And that's why I'm expecting in the current position Magnus to play pawn to c3.
Yeah. Remember, everyone, Chessable is doing an advent calendar, so every day you can get 60% of certain courses. And today's course is Nils Grandelio's course on the Ruy Lopez. And Nils is actually joining us in the studio on Friday. and Saturday, if there will be a game on Saturday. And you can, check out his course on Chessable. And even Lawrence has a Chessable course that you should check out, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it in the intro. Please, do yourselves a favour, get yourselves an early Christmas present. For yourself, your mum, your brother, whoever it is, it's a course for everybody. It's not overly advanced, so if you're just learning chess, it's good for you as well.
Yeah.
It's an entire opening repertoire, a bit offbeat, but looks like after all the analysis I've done that it's perfectly playable. You can get some interesting positions. 1b6 against everything on Chessable, but I think it will be a different day for the Advent calendar, so we'll see. It might be in the next couple of days when you do get that discount. So just hold out on buying, and I'm sure they'll advertise it on the screen in the studio.
Very honest there.
Or buy it full price, as you wish.
Well, we're very lucky to get all the great Chessable authors as guests in the studio. And, over 10 minutes pause for Magnus Carlsen now. And in Game 8, we did see Jan desperately keeping the queens on the board. Will we now definitely see them off the board quite soon?
I think a very high chance. We talk about a 60% sale. This is not a 60% chance that the queens will disappear. I think it's like a 95% chance the queens will disappear from this game. Maybe someone had a word with Nepomniachtchi just saying, OK, in Game 8, your mistake was avoiding a queen trade. I know Jon Ludvig Hammer, very strong Norwegian grandmaster, he thought that Nepomniachtchi's mistake in Game 6 as well, just from a strategic point of view, was not trading queens. So maybe he's gone for that idea, but just too late. And the thing is, he's giving Magnus a Magnus type of position. Magnus thrives on these types of scenarios, right? Queen's off, no risk. He can just press and probe and set traps here and there with minimal risk.
I've got a question, David. So, obviously, a lot of people are asking, why is he spending so long? C3 is the obvious move here. So I've been trying to work out why he hasn't played this move. Is he contemplating that after C3 that Nepo can actually try and keep the queens on with bishop E6?
Wow.
I know it looks very odd, and I know it's not a move that looks particularly pretty, but it's the only reason I can see why Magnus is spending 12 minutes now on what looks like an obvious move.
So bring the bishop out to block this queen trade.
Yeah, and d5 doesn't win a piece. And now we're threatening to castle on the queen side and try and get a bit of momentum. Now, of course, Magnus can take this bishop on e6. And I'm just wondering whether Jan there wants to take with the pawn and claim, OK, I've not swapped the queens off. I don't buy it. I mean, white here still looks like he's got a wonderful position after g3, let's say, exactly, and bishop g2 or bishop h3 and castle. So I don't quite get what Magnus is so deep in thought about here. Maybe he's trying to work out what Jan's idea is, because c3 is just such an automatic move. Unless you've got another theory here, David?
None at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe he's contemplating what will happen once black pushes this pawn.
Oh, wow.
G5. I mean, it looks a bit ugly, to be honest. The white knight can just retreat, and there's an attack against this pawn. I mean, it's either very good or very bad, this pawn push, and here it doesn't really make too much sense to me, just pushing forward. And I was just trying to find a way that black could, again, like you say, just keep the pieces on, keep the bishop blocking this tension between the queens. But white is always going to have pressure against this weakness, against this kind of premature pawn push. So, again, it feels to me like Magnus is just doing Magnus things. We've seen throughout the match, he's been slightly slower than normal. He's been getting in time trouble a couple of games, Magnus Carlsen. So maybe just feeling the tension, he's just calming himself down, taking a time out. But, I mean, we'll either see this pawn push, essentially, or if he's worried about the queens not coming off, because I think he wants to achieve this, then we might see Magnus trade first and then push this pawn.
Yeah.
But, I don't see any reason to rush, essentially. The reason I'm more attracted to this move first is because you want black to take on your terms, and now you gain time to develop your pieces, rather than giving black the time to develop his.
Yeah. It also could be Magnus is just trying to, like you suggest, look for those fourth, fifth computer suggestions or least popular moves, and then just try to get Nepomniachtchi out of his preparation. And
it doesn't seem so relevant at this point, though, preparation, because it's just a kind of queenless middle game where there's not going to be too many forcing moves. Normally, when you play a third or fourth choice move in your preparation to avoid what your opponent studied before, it's to avoid kind of scary forcing lines where you have to be really accurate. But here, just push a pawn, trade the queens. What do you have to be accurate about? Yeah, I mean,
difficult to answer that that point, David. It's true though.
And 15 minutes now for Magnus Carlsen. That
strange.
Only
Very
8
strange.
moves, yeah.
Very, very strange. Well, would be also interesting to ask, again, why he spent such a long time here, especially if he does play c3. The only other move, let me play devil's advocate, because we've got to explore why. The move d5, now I hate it. I hate it, because I see knight d4 exists.
So queen takes queen.
Queen takes queen, followed by knight d4, or even knight b4, actually. We're winning a pawn there. Yeah,
What did you get up to the night before this game? Knight b4, attacking some pawns.
Yeah, looks ugly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at the very worst, you give black some squares in the centre, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's very unlikely that you push forward. There's no reason to, simply.
Yeah, I have to say, having sat next to David for all these months, there's only one move that I would even think about playing.
What?
Push the pawn.
C3,
Push the pawn, C3, control the knight circuit.
How long would that take you to play in a classical game, do you think? A minute?
Yeah, I mean, the only decision that I would be doing is just like David says, would it be queen takes queen, then followed by that
C3.
pawn move, or do I just keep, push the pawn?
I should also mention as well that Hikaru Nakamura, who's great at Fischer Random Chess 960, he says that he thinks it's nearly always a blunder for the opponents to put their knights on the third rank like this when they can be completely controlled by pawns. So, for example, if black just plays a quiet move, one thing that Hikaru would do for sure in a position like this, maybe after the queen's come off, is to just push this pawn forward as well. And now this pawn controls this knight from leaping forward, this pawn controls this knight from leaping forward, and the knights are therefore having to reroute later on. If they want to get active in the game, they'll have to find a different circuit. And meanwhile, if you compare the white knights, this knight can't necessarily be controlled by pawns. It can come back, it can come to the side. This knight as well, super flexible. It can jump this way. They can jump to the fourth, the second. It takes black longer to recircuit.
No, I've just seen a tweet there by my buddy, Grandmaster Nicholas Huschenbett, one of the top young grandmasters in Germany. He says, knight c6 is great prep by Team Nepo, apparently getting Carlsen out of bed and going for a full game. So maybe he's seen something that we haven't, because I want to see the follow-up after c3. I don't get the concept, basically. But we'll soon see. I mean, Magnus now 20 minutes in the tank. Is this genius? Maybe we're witnessing some genius prep, that he gets a little bit of dynamism.
It actually transposes by playing the move c3 into another much more popular move.
Oh.
So we have maybe some quite high-level games, I have to say, around about 12 high-level games where black and white have mainly ended in a draw. So it's been okay.
Those were all following the move pawn to c3?
Yep.
Okay, and has anything else been played in this position, Jovanka?
Well, you see, it would be a transposition, because white actually starts off usually by making that pawn to c3 first and then playing d4.
And how about in this position? What has been played before?
In this particular position, I have to go back a few moves and put it.
Here comes the move.
What does he play? He does play pawn to c3. Surprise, surprise. But it did cost him more than 20 minutes? Was it around nearly 20 minutes?
Yeah.
This Carlsen.
Strange.
Yeah, very strange. Playing the most natural move in the position. He does control the black knight. The evaluation part, not a fan, I should mention. Yeah, I mean, the only explanation I can come up with is that Magnus was thinking about this pawn push g5 to attack that white knight. The white knight looks very active. It's going to get kicked back. I mean, I just see no other reason for black to go for this, or for Magnus to even think for so long. So maybe he was just coming up with a reply. Maybe he was trying to look 3 or 4 moves into the future, so that he can get those moves quickly on the board next without having to pause every single move.
Do you expect Nepo now to come back to the board quickly, trade off the queens?
I think he's going to come back very quickly and make a move. I don't think he's going to trade off the queens, because that helps white to develop. I think both sides want to maintain this tension. They want to force the opponent to take their queen so they gain time to develop their bishops. I think we're going to see Nepomniachtchi return to the board very quickly and push his g-pawn, to be honest. Push the black g-pawn down the board 2 squares, attack that white knight.
Okay.
Because what else?
Yeah, we're just a little bit absorbed, Lawrence and I,
very nice.
in the GChess website, because we just spotted a new in chess article which deals with this.
Yeah.
And it says that although this is the most precise move order for black, if white wants, he can try to get more or less the same endgame.
Wow.
And here comes a move.
Okay,
Very-
D5.
Very, very dry.
Yeah, so now I must say I'm surprised by that. If you wanted to imbalance the game, if you want to win the game, you can't really just go for this type of symmetrical pawn structure and block things up. Okay, he stopped white advancing his central pawn, but white didn't want to do that anyway, as we pointed out a couple of moves ago. And now, yeah, the queens will come off eventually, and yeah, very, very level. I would take white's position here every time, I must say, just because of that kind of standoff between the pawns and the knights. But yeah, it's tiny margins here, and Magnus thrives in these types of tiny, minuscule, advantageous positions.
Well, he keeps thinking, though, and what is Jan Nepomniachtchi's intention today? Well, let's head back down to Dubai to Rune. He's talked to Vladimir Potkin, the main second for Jan Nepomniachtchi. Maybe he can give us some answers.
Here on the Chess24 global stream, we are, of course, a beginner-friendly broadcast. So here with me today we have Vladimir Potkin. You are the main second of Jan Nepomniachtchi. Can you help me and our viewers understand what your job is?
Well, of course, it's always like a big way of our team, and especially Jan is getting good results in last qualification and also candidates tournament, and now he was preparing to the match, so of course it was a big job. And I believe always that it's very important to make the strongest part of a player even stronger, or at least to keep them, to make player inspired, motivated for a big job, but the same to have some creativity mood. And of course it's a big process, but I'm really inspired that Jan during the last years he became much stronger player, so he could now play more flexible, universal chess, and he became really stronger, and results told himself about this.
Do you also work with the openings? Are you involved with that at all?
Yeah, for sure. It's I mean, openings part is very important in chess, as we know, but not only openings. So it's also some strategical questions. So what positions to achieve, to avoid, and some tactical. So it's always should be like a complex. So if player need now to work on openings, it's better to give him. If not, it's better to see and adjust according to the situation.
And is it also your job to monitor how he's doing, how he's feeling, and say maybe you should do this a little better, or you should not focus on that so much?
Yeah, well, of course, the player is the one who decides at the last moment what is more comfortable for him. But if I feel that something should be done in the right direction, I'm telling it to Jan. And of course, we already know each other for a long time, and it helps, like in some say-not situation, to understand things better.
Thank you very much. That was Grandmaster Vladimir Potkin with some insights into what role the second really plays. And it's like a huge machinery going on behind the scenes. And actually just a little service announcement today for the viewers. If you guys register at Chess24 today, you will get a free video series with the seconds of Magnus Carlsen from the 2018 match. So that is Peter Heine Nielsen, that is Jan Gustafsson and Laurent Fressinet, all Grandmasters. And you'll get that for free, so you can get a deep dive into what these guys are really doing, explaining everything what was happening in the 2018 match. Thank you very much, and back to the studio.
Chess24 giving out a bunch of great free stuff for you guys during the World Championship match, and this one inside the 2018 World Championship match should be very interesting for everyone to watch. So go register on Chess24. And Magnus did make his move.
Yep, he did make a move. It's rather non-committal, just improving the white knight slightly. Do you like it, Lawrence?
Yeah, nothing wrong with it at all. Bringing the knight in does a few things. Firstly, the knight can jump to f3 on the king side, where the knight sits perfectly fine, eyeing the e5 square. You pass the move to Nepomniachtchi as well. You ask him, well, what are you trying to do with this entire setup? The more he plays, the more it feels like not a way to actually play for some kind of win.
Okay.
And the more the mysterious moves keep on coming. Knight to d8 now. I mean, I would love this if it was in a situation where the match was really tense and he just needed to get a half point, because I think his position is obviously completely fine, but it's clearly not a winning attempt. So I think Magnus is going to be quite relieved, actually. I think, yeah, Knight d8. Well...
Mysterious, isn't it? I've just actually checked here the online databases, and Black was just developing the light squared bishop, castling queenside, doing pretty much everything that David highlighted for us. But there's knight retreat. Nope.
Never been seen.
Never been seen, never been thought of. So I wonder whether this is like some super level computer preparation.
I think you give the benefit of the doubt all the time, Jovanka. I mean, I think this is maybe he's seen this idea in similar types of positions, but it feels like he's just freestyling at the moment, and he knows he's fine, as Lawrence mentioned. The Black Knight was on a bit of a, well, not the most active square in the world anyway, so he's retreated it to an even worse square, but he's going to plant it in the centre, and he's going to try and neutralise White's Knight. So I'm pretty sure he's seen this position in similar circumstances, or seen this manoeuvre in similar circumstances, and he's going for it now just because it makes a lot of sense. But it's not necessarily changing anything. If White just pushes forward, I'm desperate to play this move somehow with White, just to control this knight now, maybe to push some pawns later in the game. And if Black offers the trade, then Magnus, if he wants a draw, he can say yes, maybe you can take, or you can just move your knight out the way so that the bishop can defend this knight. Or if he wants to keep maximum tension, he can retreat. Either way, it's a bit weird now with the two knights against these two knights. The positioning, it looks like Blacks are more active, but actually Whites are more centralised. So, yeah, a very, very tense position. Either way, this manoeuvre makes a lot of sense. Next move, Jan is going to try and challenge the Knights. And
what are Black's practical winning chances? Actually, either side. What are their winning chances if the queens just come off? I mean, look at the pawn structure is symmetrical, and...
Yeah. I mean... I don't think Jan has got any winning chances, to be frank. I think if anybody's better, it's White slightly, as David illustrated with that plan. I really like that f3, controlling that knight and advancing on the king side, with, potentially g4, h4, gaining space, putting the king on f2. Yeah, I don't know what Jan's intentions are this game, so it would be very interesting to ask him, did you plan to fight for a win today, or did you just want to not lose? Magnus is too experienced to overpress in this situation as well, so a less experienced player would perhaps get too ambitious. Magnus doesn't have to get ambitious. He literally just needs to make a draw and on to the next and edge his way closer. So I'm still not completely sure what's going on.
Strange stuff. Magnus Carlsen, again, taking a long pause, thinking only move 10 in game 10. But we're going to go back down to Dubai. What's happening, Runa?
Well, I am here. I'm your man on the ground, as you know, and we are right outside the playing hall. We are trying to figure out what's going on with this novelty. And here with me to try to understand with, we have Grandmaster Yevgeny Romanov. Can you please give me the big picture? What's going on here? We are a couple moves back in the game.
This is how it was. So, position been played many times. I think that Magnus again tried to get to more or less calm situation, especially perhaps without the queens, where he can control the position like fully control, being out of risk. So, knight c6 is clear novelty. There is...
So this is the new move.
Yeah.
Never been seen before.
Like, knight jumps. The point behind that, in case queen takes e7, knight would be immediately replaced. Let's say, if you help me.
So like, I come here. And I take here.
Knight grabs back.
All right. And then it's over for the queen. Okay.
Yeah. And then the knight gonna be replaced to kind of very nice positions. There is the opportunity to be played knight f5.
Oh, okay.
Or knight g6. To try to change the knight from f4.
Okay.
Fully controlling the center.
Okay.
But never, wait a second, never bishop e7, because in case of c3, the knight gonna be cut. So knight on c6 has no future. There is no any single square to be jumped around.
Oh.
Hence, Magnus decided to wait a bit with this move, avoiding opportunity to play knight c6 to e7 to recapture back. And Magnus played, I need the queen, your queen. Yeah, therefore Magnus played c3 at once.
Okay.
So he was awaiting partly, queen takes e2, bishop takes e2. So if we trade the queens, then bishop developed.
Yes.
If you want, you can show it. Yeah. And then, same problem with the knight. Knight standing quite badly here.
Okay.
On c6. Therefore, I believe Jan still is in his prep. After c3, he reacted immediately. d5. You see, like in football manner. And now white has no single problem to develop the knight. They're gonna play knight d2 with a perspective of getting knight potentially to e5. Very nice maneuver.
So go here.
Here, e5. Or opposite way, knight b3 and c5, trying to enter the camp of the opponent. So white is replacing the knight to very aggressive position, and both sides like playing the game. What is better? Black takes the queen or white takes the queen? Of course, we did not consider that Jan would avoid the queen exchange by playing bishop e6, simply because the bishop, first of all, going to be extremely stupid, like a big pawn on a6, guarding 2 pawns from black side. But also, after knight takes e6, help me please.
Boom.
Boom. F takes e6.
And now maybe the structure is good here for black.
Exactly. The pawn structure will be definitely in white's favor, because there is the outpost on a5, where the knight potentially
so
will
here,
clearly be developed.
And then you make a monster knight here.
So, after the long thoughts, Magnus decided to give the opportunity to Jan to save some pieces on board or to change some pieces on board.
Right.
So he's like provocating. You gonna play or you don't?
So am I understanding this correctly? We have the standoff between the queens.
Exactly.
And then there are all these small little maneuvers, and they are about the knights, who can get the best knights, and who will be the first one to blink in order with the queen exchange here. Is this correct?
Yeah. Approximately it goes like this. We want to change the queens, white and black.
Yeah.
But who gain more from that? Better development, better position for pieces, better replacements, better opportunities for the knights especially.
Right.
Transposing the knights.
So a positional battle. And we have new moves in the game, so let's take a look at that while we cut back to the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
All right, thanks guys for the analysis and for the hard work. Wow, what a chess analysis you guys did there. And the queens are now off the board.
The queens are off the board, so Yevgeny there and Runa just discussing one of the main factors in the position, and indeed the queens did leave. So if we just rewind to show what's happened, there have been a flurry of quick moves. Here I was expecting maybe the pawn to push just to control the black knight, but Magnus decided he needed that square for his own knight. So he jumped forward, trying to head into the middle of the board. This is something that they mentioned there on the giant chessboard. I heard those pieces were very heavy. And maybe just to stop this knight blockading the e-file, Jan decided, OK, now is the moment to trade queens. So he took the queens off the board and he quickly developed his bishop out to d6. Putting some pressure on this knight, of course, but this knight is defended, so not really a threat. And it's a big question now for Magnus. Does he castle the king? Does he leave the king near the centre if he can, which is normally conventional wisdom once the queens are off? Or does he maybe even plant a knight in the centre at some point? I think Magnus may be slightly disconcerted by the speed with which Nepomniachtchi is playing. Jovanka, any thoughts here? You're expecting the queens to come off at some point as well. Have we left the realms of known theory?
We left it a while ago, and I can just simply see what people have been analysing. And in this exact position, people have looked at it and just considered the black options and just kind of said, well, black probably should consolidate the centre or develop the bishop, as you say.
So, OK, what should white
sorry,
be doing
after
first?
queen takes, queen takes, I had the wrong position just for a minute. And you're...
Castling maybe is one option.
Castling is an option, bringing the knight into the centre. People have also looked at expansion moves, such as pushing the a-pawn 2 squares forward.
Very Magnus Carlsen type of move.
Yep, another one is actually putting the knight on the d3 square, which is just solidifying the control over the e5 square.
Yeah, so both knights could jump in. Personally, I'm attracted to this one quite a lot. I'm also just thinking, if you can jump in now, maybe you should. But then again, this knight, it's not necessarily threatening anything. So the one move I'm slightly reluctant to play is to castle, just because I feel the king might not be ideally placed here later. If more trades happen, it wants to be near the centre. So, OK, lots of choice for Magnus Carlsen in the current position. Lawrence, still roughly balanced?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's becoming more clear that Jan's objective today is to make a draw, get a rest on the rest day, fully recharge, do something different, enjoy himself.
Go to Aqualand.
Go to Aqualand, watch a football match, I don't know, do something that just allows him to relax, and then go all in for the remainder.
Desert safari.
Whatever it is, whatever floats his boat, he's going to have to fully recharge and then go for it in games 11, 12, and, well, assuming he makes it there. But, of course, he's not out of the woods here. Let's just be very clear.
Yeah.
Even though Magnus Carlsen would be happy with a draw today, Magnus might be thinking, well, hold on, haven't I got a slight advantage? Can I just end the match today? A win today ends it, pretty much. I mean,
well,
for all intents and purposes.
Definitely there is two more. This one and definitely one more game.
But he would only need half a point out of 4 games. So, you know, unless an asteroid hits the Earth, he would make that. So maybe Magnus is going to think, you know what, I'll just try and nurture this small advantage. He did castle, right?
I was laughing at that because I was like, commentator's curse is like the one move you're like, I don't think I would necessarily commit to moving the king so soon. Happens on the board. And I have to say, it is logical, but I totally agreed with your kind of reasoning because the king might be needed in the centre. It's a kind of queenless middle game / end game. And the king will have to work harder if it's just there on the right side.
Yeah, I guess he just wants to put his rook on the open file, on the e file, and then decide what to do next. And, OK, that has provoked Jan to follow suit. He also castles the king. So not necessarily because either side were worried about king safety, just I think they want to get the rooks into the game as quickly as possible. So still quite symmetrical, but white has a small advantage because it's his move first. And he, if we do a quick count, he has 3 pieces out from the back rank, and black only has 2. So, I mean, slim margins at this point. I'm not sure that's too relevant, but white still has the advantage of the tempo.
So what do you kind of predict that Magnus will do? Do you think he will just improve his knight? Will he take some space on the left with some pawns?
I can see a4. I can see knight d3, bishop f4. This is a classic strategical concept, trying to exchange black's good bishop for white's not so good bishop on c1. Why is it not so good? Well, classically speaking or theoretically speaking, because a lot of its pawns are on the same colour, b2, c3, d4, f2, and so on. So in general, exchanging that bishop for the glorious bishop on d6, which is looking in both directions, is a standard idea.
For example,
Yeah, for example, that. Now, of course, there is one move that Magnus has to think about, that after knight d3, Jan almost certainly will go bishop f5, and then after bishop f4, he has to be a little bit careful because bishop takes d3 might just win material, although even there, I haven't calculated to the end. I guess it does win material. So that's probably why he's not doing it, and that's why he has played the move bishop d3, which is precisely to prevent that last move, bishop f5, stopping Jan getting his pieces out. And again, Magnus should be extremely calm here, nothing to worry about. Also worth noting that if Jan does play the move bishop to g4 now, for sure Magnus's idea is to play the move knight to e5 here. And you can't take, because after pawn takes bishop, the d5 pawn then hangs at a very minimum, apart from getting the 2 bishops, which would be advantageous. So it's back over to Jan, and I guess his most obvious move here, David, is just to buttress that centre even further, isn't it, with the move c6 or rook e8 or...
Rook e8, to me.
Rook e8.
I would choose, at least
c6.
stop white from putting the rook on the open line.
Yeah, maybe c6 as well, just to defend the central pawn, just so in those lines, nothing will ever hang. At some point as well, Black would love to challenge knights, just trade those off the board. A few ideas. I think we'll see them all in action at some point in some order. It's not clear what's better than the rest here. Rook e8, c6, or maybe knight to e6. One of these three. And Magnus will do the same. He'll just want to bring his rook across, maybe push some pawns, and just both sides playing for small, long-term advantages.
Okay. Well, we did see that analysis by Evgeny Romanov and Rune down in Dubai using that huge chess set. Maybe that is something we should start doing, David, Jovanka, this video. We actually do have show number 100 in the studio today.
Yeah, congratulations to you guys. I mean, I want to say, as somebody who's only here for a few days, but I've been watching from the start. I think you guys have done an amazing job.
Thank you.
So congratulations to you, the team, producers, everybody back there. Keep it up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the next seasons.
Yeah,
let's hope for plural seasons.
Exactly, because Meltwater Champions Chess Tour season is starting in February, and we will be back with the studio, giving you all the drama from online chess as well. I'm already getting excited for that.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. And thanks, Lawrence. You're making me emotional with those kind words.
Well,
thank you.
Never hear that type of thing from you.
You'll never hear them again, so savor them.
And that means we can invite you back as a guest as well.
I would love to. I love being here. I love Oslo. Last night we went for a can we talk about this? Yeah, we can talk about that.
We
went. Yeah, are you sure? Okay, I'm just
celebrating the 100th show.
We were celebrating the 100th show. We went to the Good Night, which is a chess-themed pub in Oslo city centre down the road. Great little place. If you come to Oslo, make sure you get there. Great atmosphere. Chessboards everywhere. Chess clocks if you want to play some blitz. Some nice local beverages on hand as well. Get yourselves down there. But in the meantime, look at this.
Okay.
This didn't, by the way, the blitz that I played against David last night, none of the games looked like this. Okay.
Slightly more exciting.
They were a bit more dynamic.
Is this sort of the last opening you want to play when playing social blitz, fun games, bullets?
I think it should be illegal, actually, to play this opening in blitz amongst friends.
Yeah.
No, this is the opening.
The Petrov and the Berlin defence. That's the two.
Ban them. Those are the openings you play when you are trying to keep it solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have this rook offer now. Jan shrugs, says, well, OK, what do you want from me?
Is this slightly strange, though? Because if we do see Black capture the white rook now on this open file, White's knight is going to have to retreat. Is this just a kind of silent draw offer from Magnus? He just wants all the pieces off the board. He doesn't care if it worsens his position slightly anymore. I'm surprised by this decision, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised as well, because one thing that you should not do when all you need is a draw is start playing for the draw, because then you start taking passive decisions, and we see that the rooks have come off.
Okay.
Oh. Transmission error there?
Slight mishap there.
There we go.
There we go. Rook takes rook. That's a check. And White will recapture once Magnus returns to the board. He can play knight takes rook. And that knight not looking great.
Yeah,
still very balanced.
And one thing I was just going to say is that when the pawn structure, the central pawn structure, is symmetrical, one thing that you need to do is you need to transfer the dynamism to the sides of the board. So the first move that I would be thinking of playing, if I were Jan, would be actually just to start pushing my A pawn, and try and get as much space as possible over there, just because small gains. That's about it.
Okay, and I guess that pawn push would just be blocked by White doing the same. White would try and keep the pawn structure as symmetrical as possible.
Okay, but he's offering a trade of knights.
Okay, so another quick move from Jan Nepomniachtchi. Knight trade or no knight trade? What do you think, guys? Is Magnus going to continue hoovering off those pieces?
Knight trade.
Yeah.
The more pieces that get swapped off, the more simplified the position is, and the easier it becomes for both sides to play it.
Do you think we're even going to reach move 40 today?
I hope so for my prediction challenge chances. But
How many moves do you put down today?
42.
As always.
As always.
Yeah?
I said 40, so I mean...
I'm at 41.
Oof.
Yeah.
But I guessed everything wrong. You know, I think I said who's going to win. I thought Magnus, because I really thought that Nepomniachtchi would come out swinging today. But it seems like the recovery will begin after the free day.
Yeah, maybe he's hoping he'll gain more confidence from this. A very easy draw with black is always normally a good result against the world champion, but then again, he's one game further away now, Jan.
Yeah, exactly. And also, the strategy didn't really work after game 6. He took a quick draw. Well, he kind of swapped off the pieces, and it was an easy draw. And then he lost.
Yeah.
Game 7, yeah.
He didn't want the draw in game 7, and then...
Yeah, but maybe different mentality. That one, he took a quick draw with white, and then he got punished again with the black pieces the next day. Now he's taking a quick draw with black. Maybe he's banking everything on a win after the rest day, and then he'll cross his fingers and hope that Magnus self-destructs. But
does this mean he doesn't challenge his black openings?
Yeah, it's very hard to say. I mean, if Magnus can get this opening twice more, I mean, even if this is a draw, Magnus has 2 more whites. If he can get that twice more, and if he draws 2 more games, he's got the title, no matter what happens when he has black. So Magnus now, all he needs to do, remember, is get 1.5 points. He's got 3 white games, including this one. Draw, and he's got the title. So Nepomniachtchi will need to win with black at some point.
Well, if this is a quick draw today, then more time for us to spend time online, playing online chess. And Chess24 now has a great promotion code you can use to get 50% off Chess24 Premium. You see the code in the bottom of the screen. A great offer for everyone there. And then we can all meet later on Chess24 Premium and start playing some games. Yeah.
I think the code, they should change it. Instead of Go Petrov, it should be No Petrov. But yeah, I might log on later.
In fairness, the Petrov can be used, right, for a win.
I mean, it's a good weapon. Yeah, Lawrence, you know Fabiano Caruana very well, and he started playing the Petrov in, 2017, just before the match.
Yeah.
And then it was his main weapon in the World Championship match in 2018.
And that worked perfectly.
Worked really well.
Yeah.
Do you think it comes down to the mentality of the black player, maybe to provoke the opponent? Or?
Well, yeah, it all depends on the dynamic of the match situation. I don't think it's used as an outright winning attempt. It's used more as a provocation, right? In certain moments where you think your opponent is likely to overpress or is desperate for a win to prove something. Maybe it's an ego thing. It doesn't really matter what, but it's used as a provocation because, of course, white has got many ways, just like we've seen in this game, to make things very calm and very, lacking dynamism, right? Just out of interest, the move G3, that was played. I actually thought he was going to play H3 there, followed by the knight redeployment to F3, but G3 is a very nice move. His idea is that he wants to maneuver this knight to G2 and then play the move bishop to F4 anyway, with this the same concept that was mentioned earlier about exchanging these dark squared bishops off. And actually, if the knight lands on F4 and the bishops are off, suddenly, if you put something on the board, here probably black should not exchange, but let's say he did.
Black should run away.
Yeah.
Just hide back home.
Yeah.
If he does.
Even this position, yes, it's equalish, but white is on the right side of being better, right? Isn't he, David? Because of the pawns and the light squared bishops.
Yeah. As you mentioned earlier, this bishop just blocked in by its own pawns, and this one free. Whoops. Me and my arrows on both diagonals. So, yeah, tiny advantage, probably nothing significant, but white is the only one having the fun. So, OK, we did see one more move after white pushed a pawn, black copied G6. And that doesn't stop this plan from Magnus. Again, knight G2, bishop F4. Very, very logical here from white.
Do you see any alternative? I don't. I mean, it just looks like the most straightforward.
No, I don't think you need an alternative once you see a decent idea like this one. Maybe Jan's just going to reply by pushing and then retreating his bishop and saying, OK, it's just still pretty balanced. Yeah, you mentioned, I mean, as the manager of Fabiano Caruana, would you have ever advised him going into something like this if he were kind of in a must-win situation?
Well, I mean, when I was working with Fabiano, I didn't advise him on chess-related stuff because effectively, he had a coach and I'm not qualified. But I would have been very surprised if Rustam, who was his coach at the time, would have advised him to play a Petrov at this stage in the match when he needs 3 victories. I understand the proposal, perhaps, by the Russian team to just say, look, just don't lose tomorrow, and then we go all in on the next few games. But I actually think that I'm not completely convinced by that strategy. I actually think there's a lot of value in trying to bounce back immediately, use the fire and the anger and the disappointment, and convert that negative energy into something you can channel for the next game. You really use that fire. And Jan had weapons at his disposal with black. He's played the Sicilian all his life. He's played the French with great success at the candidates. He knows how to mix it up. He could have tried something. I think he's leaving it too little too late. If he manages to win draw today, win the next one, and then win the next one after that...
Look like a genius.
He'll look like a genius. He'll look like a genius.
In hindsight, we'll eat our words.
We'll eat our words, and we will delete the streams promptly from the Chess24 website. No, but yeah, it's not my style, but who am I to talk about what's right or wrong? What would you have done, David? Let's say you were in the situation Jan was in. Would you have played a Petrov today?
I would never have dreamt of playing a Petrov.
Right.
I would rather fall on my sword at this point, even having lost 2 games in a row. I think, as you mentioned, it's easier to kind of turn that disappointment into aggression rather than have a rest day, calm yourself down, and then suddenly kind of whip up some aggression out of nothing. It's just incredibly difficult to do that.
But one thing, though, is that aggression is good, but only a drop of it. Too much of it just clouds the mind. And we have to be honest here, we don't know the state that Jan is in. We just don't know. We don't know whether he's completely crushed by what happened, or he's kind of being very pragmatic about it and just kind of coldly being cynical, as David's mentioned. And I don't know what I would have done in his situation, I'll be honest there. But
it's hard.
It is very hard, and we have to say, Fabiana Caruana told us in 2018 that it was enormous pressure and scrutiny, and that was something that he failed to prepare for, and he credits that actually to him losing the match. He just wasn't ready.
The one criticism I would have of Nepomniachtchi's team maybe is that so far they haven't really showed a plan B. I mean, they've had plan A, it worked very well for 5 rounds, it nearly worked in the 6th round, but after he lost, when he went behind, nothing much has changed. Yesterday, we saw a new opening move with white. That looked promising for a while, but apart from that, I mean, no plan B with black, clearly, yet, or no plan B that they're really confident in. I mean, when I prepare my tournaments, I know it's a lower level, but I always prepare a solid opening and a really kind of a more ambitious opening, which keeps the pieces on the board, which suits my style, just in case I have to go all in.
Yeah.
OK, meanwhile, a couple of moves here. Black did bring the rook to the open file, and Magnus just pushing a pawn to control the black knight. Nothing much changing.
I was just wondering, I was just remembering some old tales, when Fischer didn't want to play his World Championship match. I think it was Henry Kissinger, although don't quote me on this, called him up and said, "You've got to play." And I'm just wondering whether there was maybe someone who could do that with Nepomniachtchi, someone famous, someone who goes, "Hey, come on, you can do this. You got this."
I don't know,
right?
No idea. No, I think obviously the dynamic is slightly different nowadays as well. There's not the same geopolitical backdrop, right? So, I don't know. But clearly, Jan, if he makes a draw today, that's what he set out for. Even this, though, as we were saying, does Magnus actually want to make a draw here? I'm not completely convinced.
I would take white
with you.
every day of the week.
I mean, there were lines that you showed where white had the better bishop, black had a really bad bishop, and white has the possibility to expand. Because, yes, black has the control of the open E-line, but, it's all the squares are controlled. White king can step forward.
Yep.
Everything's good.
Yeah. And by the way, imagine Magnus does win this in 98 moves with white, you'll actually feel sick if you're Jan Nepomniachtchi. Well, I would feel sick in his shoes, because it'd be like, wow, I went for this line where I just went for a no a 2 results game as black, where I've got 0 winning chances. I end up losing. I wish I would have played something a bit more to my style. You know, Sergei was talking about that in the interview, about stylistically. Well, I haven't seen Jan's style in this whole match.
Yeah.
All I've seen is one game where he got something, and that was yesterday, and that was the best position objectively that he's had without a slight inaccuracy from Magnus early on, right? Yeah. So I would much rather have just seen some fire. But what happens if he does lose this game in 6 hours? You know, there's a lot of whats and ifs that I'm saying, obviously, but we're here to project. But I dislike Black's position. I'll be brutally honest with you.
If Magnus was playing one of us, he would torture us for sure for 6 hours, yeah?
Well, I mean...
He wouldn't even contemplate a draw in this type of position.
It's just unthinkable to think about a draw. He has, I see, 0 risk. The only move... I mean, even c5 here, which is a super aggressive, it doesn't really do anything because you can just... You can ignore it, you can take and play bishop e3. That's also perfectly reasonable. Yeah. That's the only sort of mildly aggressive idea.
But it could well backfire if Jan tries anything aggressive.
Bishop f4 is coming next move, king f2, rook e1. And Magnus might just say, why would I accept a draw here? Well, I am in 0 danger. I'm going to just play out, I'm going to tire you more, I'm going to tire you more, tire.
Yeah, and I've got to as well add that, I mean, I love Magnus's last move.
I really love this move, actually.
I highlighted it a moment ago. This white pawn dominates the black knight, and black's knight now has to spend 3 or 4 moves rerouting if it wants to find an active square, an active path. Meanwhile, white's knight might look more passive, but it can spring forward at any moment. And also this idea of Lawrence's just bringing out the dark squared bishops, trading them off, that would end in a long-lasting advantage for white. So it does feel like Jan, he should be fine. Of course, it's just a level position. Draw, objectively, is the correct result, but it's not his style. It's not the style we're used to, and it is Magnus's style.
All right. Well, you guys, I don't know if you're watching on Chess24 or if you're watching on Chess24 YouTube channel, but we do advise everyone to subscribe to the Chess24 YouTube channel. There is so many live events going on there almost every single day, and also exclusive content, videos with the best chess players in the world, analysis, behind the scenes, so much stuff going on. So we do highly advise you to follow the Chess24 YouTube channel, subscribe to it. And Jan Nepomniachtchi now finally thinking, maybe? I mean, Magnus is just down on the clock, for sure. Again, that has been a trend in this World Championship match.
Yeah, noticeable pattern there.
Yeah.
Jan, so far, he hasn't had any major decisions to make ever since he chose the Petrov defense. So he's played very, very quickly up to this point. But now he does have to maybe just change gears. He knows that, OK, he's kind of been upping the gears, just swapping off all the pieces. Now he has to just kind of put on the brakes, just take a time out and decide where he wants to put his pieces, which pieces to trade. I mean, how to navigate this game towards a draw, because you can't really hope for more with black. How to improve the black knight. Lots of small questions, not difficult ones maybe, but yeah, it can be time-consuming deciding on these strategic ideas.
Yeah, and I do feel that Nepomniachtchi hasn't equalised, and as we all mentioned, so he will be focusing on that, and just like you say, it's all those little plans that he has to find an answer against. We do have a question which comes from Craig Rees, who says, can you explain why there is 2 Chess24 apps? What is the difference? And there are 2 Chess24 apps because one is the old version, as far as I understand, and we have a very new one. Yes, and it's recently been released, November, I think, at the beginning of the World Championship match.
Brand new.
It is brand new, and it's got lots of cool features.
Cool features, yeah. So Chess24, both online, your computer, and the app are just great assets to use in watching chess, training, getting better at chess, playing with your friends. And we do have this promotion code today. Go Petrov for a chance to get, well, you will get 50% off Chess24 Premium. And now we do have a move the knight on the rim.
Yeah, it's normally very dim, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, it's the move itself is very logical given what we've just said, which is White's main idea there was to play the move bishop f4. To trade bishops, that is no longer possible because knight takes f4 would cause serious damage to that structure. Of course, so the knight is on the rim momentarily. So I wonder, David, and humour me here, can you play the move pawn to g4 anyway? That's the first move I think of here, forcing the knight back. And then you play the move bishop f4 in any case and claim, well, I get the dark squared bishops off because you can't actually move that bishop anymore because the c7 pawn is hanging. And I've achieved what I wanted to achieve anyway. Yeah, sure, black can go g5 here, maybe put some pawns on dark squares, but I mean...
I understand you're standing with his fashion advisor. What is up with the black suit today?
Well, that is absolutely correct. This man has many titles. He's a fashionista. You're also a music expert, I hear. But let's first hear, Magnus has switched it up a bit today with the color of his suit. What's up with that?
I'm actually gonna blame someone here. He was supposed to have the white suit, but dry cleaning didn't deliver it in time, so we had to go black suit, white shirt today, unfortunately.
Oh, so is that a bad omen, or do you think he's safe though?
I was high into the. No, actually, I think it's gonna be okay. I was trying to make up a cute answer, but I think it's gonna be okay.
Well, okay. I am also interested. You're hanging out with Magnus all this time, where he's away from the board. That's what we don't get to see. What is the daily routine like? What are you guys doing?
He gets up, then he starts talking about chess, then he thinks about chess, then he talks a little bit more about chess, then he gets his board out, practices a little bit. Now he's... there's a lot of chess talk, obviously, but that's usually between him and Peter. They work long hours off the board. That's got to be said. But when he's not doing that, he has his routine, gets his meal to his room, and has a little stroll outside. Maybe some light exercise, some table tennis or paddle for a short while before the game. Then goes up, has a shower, gets prepared for the game again, and after the games, it's a relaxation, a movie, maybe some football if it's possible, and then it's Peter time and preparing for the next day.
So a lot of work for him, maybe not that much work as a fashion icon and music expert for you. Are you just getting all the shine and living in a luxury hotel and not doing that much work, really, Magnus?
Yeah, that depends on how you see it. You might just have called my complete con here, which obviously isn't great. I work a lot. No, it's a nice life. I can't lie about that.
Well, thank you so much. It's a good thing to be a friend and advisor of the king. Thank you so much, Magnus.
Thank you so much, Jet. Living the luxury life, but I think we can definitely say that Magnus Barstad is very important to Magnus Carlsen. The mentality in a stressful World Championship game. It's huge.
It totally is. You need those good vibes around you. And as you can see, he's a very cheerful guy.
Yeah. I would love to have him in my team.
He didn't hassle the dry cleaners, though. He should have done that. So is Nepomniachtchi's idea just kind of once the knight takes a step back, he's going to go forward and solve the problems by dynamic means?
I think more his style.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to sit and suffer for hours, as we saw in Game 6. He would rather try and end his suffering quickly by trading off lots of pieces. And we're not expecting this one, are we? Lawrence, knight takes bishop.
So I think knight takes bishop would be a big mistake. We'll explain why at home. It's here because he would recapture with the knight. And then this f4 square suddenly becomes a major outpost.
Beautiful square for the black knight.
You might be able to get away with it just rook e1.
Create a pin.
And then black rook will just move away.
You can move it away, but then bishop f5 and rook e7 is coming, so it's not completely out of the question.
You want to take this knight out of the equation?
Right, so let's say, for example, rook d8, just to explain, then now bishop f5. And actually...
Knight moves, then the white does infiltrate.
Right. So there is some mild idea there. I guess the question then is there something better here, David?
I mean, for example, if black just moves the king, I mean, bishop f5, you say maybe trying to trade off this knight.
Yeah.
But again, if I just if I move, I don't really see.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So the idea is, okay, if you take on e6, I think this will just end up in a dead draw in endgame after the rooks disappear. But if you take this pawn now, then black can just come across. And next move, once the bishop moves, actually black here is the one taking charge. This h2 pawn will drop. And I think black just covers everything. And next move, okay, black can just put a pawn on a dark square. Eventually you break this pin. You maybe retreat the black knight to defend this rook. This one should just be a draw. And that's maybe the maximum Magnus can hope for if he does take this bishop. I think this bishop is just a bad piece. And to keep winning chances, you want to keep the knight. The question is where? Do you drop back this way, back where the knight came from? Or do you drop back maybe to this square, try and reroute the knight over this way? It's not clear.
Yeah, so after, let's discuss this position. So after knight e2, of course, I like Jovanka's suggestion of what happens after a move like f5.
f5, okay.
Looks very logical to me.
Yeah, the other reason I wanted to put my knight on this square rather than the g2 square is because now maybe I can consider taking. I want to swing my rook across to this line. It looks a bit anti-positional to break up white's pawn structure now with these isolated pawns, but for example, if you trade everything, can white get away with trying to be greedy? Rook to g1. It's a pin. Interesting. Wow. And Magnus there, he did raise his eyebrows, we saw. He's also fiddling. Is he fiddling with a piece? He is. Just with a pawn there. This would be a really crazy move to see on the board. And I guess if he doesn't go for this, then he does have the dilemma of what else? He doesn't necessarily want to take a time out to protect this pawn. It looks a bit passive to just push one square forward. It looks like this is just going to favour black, if anyone. Maybe black can even push now. And now black is the one arguing that white is the one with the worst knight. So, yeah, likewise, rook to g1, also just passive defending. Black can take here, probably just with a draw, or he can even push forward if he's feeling ambitious. So, yeah, Jovanka, what a move. Instead of rook to g1, just h4. And what if I take the other pawn? So if I take on the g4 square...
I was hoping you guys, you know, collective mind could figure out maybe whether this is okay.
I guess you take on
Yeah, this was the intention.
And if black tries to trade everything off, do you take a time out now, or do you just go forward with the knight? It feels a bit risky. I mean, the one issue maybe is that if you do either king takes pawn or knight to f4, then bishop to f5 might neutralise everything. We might see a position with a trade, and yes, white can win the pawn back, but black has access to some squares as well. Black's rook can come in to the e3 square at some point, maybe even now with a check.
Ooh.
It's not clear exactly whether this favours white or not, and if it's unclear, then Magnus cannot really go for this. So this would be very, very tempting, pushing the pawn forward, but maybe Nepomniachtchi can just neutralise it with careful play. We should also recap this variation, pawn takes pawn. Maybe this is what Magnus was banking on. But as we showed a bit earlier, after a trade here, after the white rook comes across to create the pin, black can defend calmly just by pushing a pawn and then rerouting his knight. Maybe this is the key move that Magnus has underestimated, knight to d6. And after pawn takes pawn, this move comes with check. And can he continue here, actually? Is this too ambitious? Maybe trying to take advantage of this pin.
Wow.
It feels like black should be okay with some tactics and tricks here.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, I guess you give a check and then just defend your pawn. This at the very least.
Very least,
And we see everything hoovered off the board. Imagine knight versus knight here and just a draw. So really important moment right now after Nepomniachtchi's played this move. I think it's a very accurate concept here by Nepomniachtchi. But Magnus, he will try to create something if he can.
Look at Nepomniachtchi standing behind his chair looking at the board. What will happen in Game 10? Let's go to Tanya. What do you guys think, Tanya? How will this end up, this Game 10?
It's a Petrov, Kaja. Hard to imagine another result but a draw in this one. But I'm quite happy with the way Jan is playing right now. F5 on the board. Ambitious play. We'll see how this develops as Jan is behind his chair. We are outside the Chess 24 lounge, and there's a lot of on-board, off-board action going on inside. Let's take a look. Come on in. And we've got, of course, Henrik's there. chatting. We've got a lot of partners from the Play Magnus group today here in the lounge. We also have the second most famous Magnus in Dubai currently, Magnus Barshta here. Hey, Magnus. And speaking of the onboard action, we've got Grandmaster Alex Sholowich having a look at the position. Alex, what do you make of it? Is it safe to say that Jan should be pleased with the way things have gone with the black pieces?
Well, I mean, if you forget about the score, then definitely yes. I think what he did was, after 2 losses in a row, he just wanted to stabilize the situation, make a draw. Okay, and I think so far he's succeeding. Because the situation at the board that we have now, if you look at it, with his last black's move, he played this move with the pawn, attacking this pawn, and Magnus' last move was this move with the pawn here, defending it. So you see, black is attacking twice, and white is defending twice. So now the pawn is safe. And the reason Nepo played this was that if you look at the position, you see it's asymmetrical here. You have these pawn chains, and the difference is in the bishops. Because you see this bishop is moving along the light squares, and it's very limited by its own pawns. So black needed to look for some counterplay, and he did that by attacking white's pawn. And white's bishop is more like free, it's not limited by its own pawns. So he's looking for some counterplay by pushing the pawn. Maybe he will even make it even stronger by pushing this pawn and attacking one more time this white's pawn here on g4. So in a way, it's very balanced. It's very balanced. I don't expect any other result than a draw. But if I mean, probably theoretically some minuscule theoretical advantage for white, but it shouldn't amount for much.
In fact, Alex, after h3, we do have a move. We have to move king to f7, just centralizing the king. What do you make of this? What's your first impression? Makes a lot of sense to me. The king is a piece in the endgame.
Yeah, of course. The king is activated. Maybe it will go here to support the pawn push, even though here it will be somehow pinned against this bishop. So just a normal, natural move, just getting the king to the center. That's how you play endgames. You put the king in the center. King is a strong piece. So you see both sides have put the king near the center, yeah? So it's a normal move, nothing changed, status quo.
All right, thank you so much, Alex, for those insights into the current position. So it looks like things are good for Jan currently, but of course, the big 3-point deficit is the issue. And I also see we've got in the Chess24 lounge, longtime friend of the Carlsen family, Espen Akterstein. Espen, welcome.
Thank you, Tanya.
It's super nice to have you with us in Dubai. Now, you have been to every single World Championship match. Tell us, how is this one different?
For me, it's very different because normally I'm kind of heading the team, but this time I don't have those kind of all those obligations, so I can enjoy it a little bit more. And I just arrived yesterday, so it's super pleasant. But when it comes to the match and for Magnus, I think Magnus is being more and more experienced in these matches. He seems confident and mature. So that's, I think for this match, that has kind of turned out well.
Now, it looks like he's on the verge of winning his 5th World Championship title. He has a 3-point lead. Difficult to imagine Jan being able to make a comeback. Does it get old, or is every World Championship special?
Pardon?
Does it get old winning the World Championship match, or is every one of them very special?
It's they're special because it's so much on stake, and I think losing a match is kind of so horrible and something that Magnus doesn't want to experience. So it's a lot of pressure. I think Magnus is very aware of the pressure, all the preparations, so much on stake, sitting there, and in a normal tournament, you can kind of next day you have a new opponent. If you come in number 3 in the tournament, you can live with that. But losing a match, that's much harder. So it's much more pressure, I think.
Espen, now, the one thing that I find very different about Magnus's approach in World Championship matches compared to the other, let's say, challengers or previous World Champions, is the setup he has around him, the support system. You know, his whole family is here. Yeah. The friends of families, the friends are here. His own friends to play football are here. Usually you see the seconds and you see a very serious approach. Tell us a little bit about that, because it's quite unconventional.
Yeah, but that has kind of been the approach for every match, I think. He has had a chef here and a doctor and myself, and kind of the seconds has been somewhere else, only Peter Heine. So that's, I think, it's important to try to normalize the feelings and situation, and not think about the match. After the game, you need to talk about something he likes. He needs to be a bit kind of to get away from chess, so he doesn't get exhausted kind of when he's not playing. He can focus his energy when he's playing. So that's kind of an important recipe, has been all the time, to kind of normalize and try to think about other things, talk about things, sports and things that he likes to kind of put his mind to.
Thank you so much. That's very fascinating to hear, Espen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Espen Agderstein, to what is Magnus Carlsen's secret sauce in these World Championship matches?
Yeah.
The support system he has around him.
Exactly. Espen would know has been there for all of Magnus's World Championship matches as a manager. Now he's working more in, I think, like financial advice kind of things. But yeah, he knows the recipe. And what's happening on the board, you guys?
Looks like Magnus is about to make a move. Just while Espen and Tanya were chatting there, I had a little look at Sessi, the supercomputer, and it said that Magnus had 32 legal moves in that position. 25 of them would just be dead level.
Really?
All of them would be equal, and that included every single possible legal rook move there. So Magnus just bringing his rook to the h1 square, not necessarily because he's threatening anything, but he's just trying to maybe scare Nepomniachtchi with some ghosts. Do you like it, Lawrence?
I do, because I think h4 might actually be a threat here. So let's just put a move on the board just to try and illustrate this. Let's say black played a6, just a non-move. Can white now play h4? Okay, so the idea is if g takes h4, I really like Jovanka's previous suggestion of playing g5 here. There's a bit more to work out. Does king g6 exist? We're getting into murky territory after this, I feel. Rook takes h4, king takes g5, rook takes h5, king back to f6 or something. I don't know. King, yeah, but now knight f4. It feels like a little initiative, doesn't it? It feels a bit unpleasant.
Terrible.
Yeah, it feels unpleasant. Yeah. So if we go back...
so if this is a threat?
Yeah, so on a6, just again to illustrate, so if a move, h4, if f takes g4 now, like we saw h takes g5...
Comes with a little bit more power, right?
Yeah, pawn takes pawn, and now you don't even have to recapture. My spidey senses are saying do something else. Knight to g3 looks particularly
interesting. Doesn't it? Just to control...
To stop black challenging the bishops.
Yep.
Yeah.
Followed by taking on h7, and then f3 is weak. So rook h1 is not an innocent move by any stretch of the imagination. It's got a concrete idea. And this is what we were saying. You know, Jan is... Well, zero risk for Magnus, basically, and Jan is the one who suddenly has to confront a potential idea. And the other point is that black, David was mentioning, black would love to play the move pawn to f4 in general in these situations, because you would fix the white pawns on the king side on light squares, which is favourable for black. You would also create a beautiful outpost on the e3 square for example, a black knight or a black rook. But the problem with this move is now white can play the move h4, undermining the base of the pawn. Oh, sorry, I'm even also blundering pawns. I beg your pardon. Right. Bishop takes h7, yeah.
Even if this wasn't available, bishop takes h7, you're right, h4. Yeah. And suddenly this rook makes a lot of sense on this line. I mean, even if black supports things, if things open up, suddenly the rook pounces forward and threats in the air.
I like here knight g1, knight h3 as a maneuver. How about that? Just tickling that pawn. Rook g6 actually threatens to win the pawn immediately. No, this can go wrong very quickly for black if you're a bit imprecise. So I don't know what the best move is here.
But the problem for Magnus here is that rook moving to that particular square, it's not very subtle, is it? I mean, it's quite obvious that you are kind of signalling an intention that you're going to do something on that side of the board.
It's like you're shouting in your opponent's face, I want to play h4 next.
Exactly. I want to protect my h-pawn. So, I mean, the most obvious move would be just to step forward with the h6 pawn. And then maybe you can potentially at one time think about pushing the pawn in the right circumstances to the f4 square.
Yeah, and this would, I think, cut out Magnus's idea of pawn to h4, because now after a capture, we just see black simply recapture, and in the process, black would have won a pawn. This guy defended, of course, by the bishop. So Yeah, it's very mysterious to me what's going to happen after Jan does play this move, which he does go for. Pawn to h6, just keeping everything nice and defended, these pawns defending each other. Also now that pawn no longer in the eye line of the white bishop. Sensible stuff by both sides.
Now it's a bit of a question what to do, isn't it, with white? I don't see a move intuitively here, David, do you, that just screams out to be played?
Not at all. I just have a feeling he might at some point move the white knight across. He's trying to provoke black committing the black f5 pawn.
That's interesting. Do you think he might play knight to g3, and if f4, just go back and then try and play h4 on the next?
I have a feeling, but then again, black can just hold everything together with the black king, maybe. And
after knight to g3, you mean?
Yeah.
Or in general?
But then will we see some massive trades happen just to...
Could do, yeah.
Let's show this, guys, because we're talking about a lot of moves here. So if the white knight does jump forward, attacking this pawn now 3 times, and if the black pawn does attack the knight, we just see a retreat. And same position. Yes, we lost 2 moves, but white at least has a plan, finally. Pushing forward, making use of this rook. And you guys were discussing another alternative after knight to g3.
Yeah, you mentioned that the king could step forward and just hold together that pawn. But then we were thinking, what happens if there's like this huge trade, you know, pawn takes pawn or whatever, piece takes the pawn.
Everything disappears on this square.
Everything goes, and then white will try to, well, you know, there's a pattern forming. Let's initiate some more trades.
And trying to open up this rook.
And this looks to me
like it should be a draw.
Should be a draw.
Stevens, right?
Yeah. For example, black maybe doesn't even have to commit, but if black just waits, you can, at the very least, you can take with the pawn, but you can even think of taking with the king, and both sides have passed pawns now. I'm not sure who I would rather be. Black does have this outside passed pawn, which could be a distraction. In a king and pawn endgame, black would be winning now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting question. Like, so you've calculated all those moves and you kind of get to this position in your mind and you have to make a snap assessment. Do you touch this endgame, or do you kind of go, not practical?
Not practical. If you're Magnus Carlsen, you don't want to take any risks if you're not 100% sure about any position. Why would he? I think that's why he's been spending a lot of time so far just trying to avoid any murky positions, maintaining the balance. I wouldn't be surprised if this move does land on the board, but maybe he'll be also deciding where to put these pawns. Maybe he'll just be waiting with the white rook, just waiting and saying to black, you can't improve, I can't improve. It's kind of a mutual standoff.
And it doesn't seem Magnus is imposing any kind of problems on Nepomniachtchi. Look at the clocks. He's only spent 30 minutes, Nepomniachtchi.
Yeah, but we've been here before, where Jan has made some slips ahead on the clock. So, yeah, right now it's not the type of position I think we read anything into the clock times. Yeah, what do you think, Lawrence?
Trying to calculate some stuff, but...
We'll leave that to the players.
Yeah, we'll leave that to players. Now, after the knight move king to f6, I guess white could try the move rook to e1, trying to pin, given that the rook's job is potentially done down the h file. So knight g3.
Do you want the board back up? We can do this.
We can do this.
Okay.
All right, let's have a look. So knight to g3, king to f6, rook to e1.
Yep.
Now we are threatening to take on f5 because there's an overload there on the e file. And actually you can't move the bishop because you do lose a pawn.
Yeah.
So you force black's hand to play f4 or f takes g4. And on f4, well...
Now we go back somewhere.
We probably go back.
And then you want to bring the rook back where it came from.
Is it possible to go forward with the knight?
I was trying to work that out. Knight to f5.
No.
We can just capture this.
And then rook takes rook.
Yeah, and then the knight
bishop takes bishop.
But then knight to d6 is the problem.
At the very least, black can take this rook, and this should end in a draw. The knight and bishop will balance each other out, but you are playing with fire maybe here, just after bishop takes bishop. It's not clear.
Yeah,
maybe this rook is active enough. You can go this way after some pawns. You can go this way after some pawns. But you are temporarily down material. A rook is inferior to a bishop and a knight in general. So, okay, risky stuff.
Yeah.
Don't think we'll see that from Magnus.
No.
Wow, okay, he's played pawn to f4.
Wow.
He's really trying to explode open this side of the board. And
it's probably a great move.
Whose side?
I don't know. Jan.
Sorry?
Who was the one that sighed?
One of the two players sighed there quite loudly.
Oh, right.
I think it was Jan.
Was it?
What was that
I
about
missed that. Did
just
that
went-
come through on the mic, did it? Okay, fair enough.
ASMR chess. So, okay, the pawn steps forward. Is this a pawn sacrifice?
There's a cute little line here that I've just seen. If pawn takes here on g4, I can take back. If you now take my pawn on g4, I take your pawn on h6, and now you would be not advised to play the move bishop takes e2 because I've got the unexpected move bishop to g6 check, and then after the king moves, let's say to f8 or e7, I can now take on e8, and I end up winning an exchange and having a winning position.
Yeah.
So I actually really do like this move by Magnus. F4
Sets a trap. Yeah.
Sets a little trap. Of course, Jan will not fall for it, but nevertheless, you do ask Jan what he's doing now.
Yeah.
So if you play the move...
There's maximum tension here with these guys. Does Jan want to touch any of them? I don't think he does. Maybe.
So if king f6 or something like that.
Yeah, because as mentioned, if you take this pawn, then the white rook gets active. If you take the other pawn, then the white knight gets active. And here as well, there's this idea you mentioned, Lawrence, of bishop g6 check
exactly.
with a skewer. Yeah, this is all in the air. So you mentioned this king f6 move, just maintaining the status quo.
Now, can I get really...
You want to push this guy
Yeah,
forward.
I'm trying to make it work. I can't make it work, but I'm trying.
Yeah. Maybe the issue is that black takes this pawn.
Correct.
And next, this guy hangs. So as much as this is a nice, pretty pattern, I also want to see black play h5 somehow. But, I don't think we will see this from Magnus. It doesn't quite work. So this looks sensible. Bring the king forward. Is he at least forcing Jan to be accurate here? Just maybe testing his nerves? Because in a position where you are a bit nervous and things are going badly, you want to trade things off, you want to make some captures, but these might be mistakes. Kind of sitting there, maintaining the tension is tough psychologically.
It is tough.
I see you put your calculation face
Yeah,
on there, Lawrence.
I mean, you know, I'm trying to work this one out because there's so many captures and ideas after king f6. I feel like there's a good move here.
I feel like it's equal. Maybe we're both wrong.
I feel that...
Maybe Magnus will just continue just stepping forward. I'm not sure which way with the king. Maybe this square is the safest, just to keep this one for the knight later on.
Yeah, that's the move that I was drawn to, just to kind of maintain the pressure. And the more decisions that Nepomniachtchi has to make and the more kind of calculations, the more kind of confused he can get. Potentially get, that is.
Yeah, I mean, this is really awkward, really tense, actually, for black, because you don't really want to touch any of these pawns yet. You want to maintain them. You can't improve the knight. You can't move it. You can maybe step back with the bishop just to open up the black rook, but it's not clear what that changes necessarily. And at some point, white might start jumping forward with the knight. Maybe it's a case of mutual zugzwang. Any move that either side makes, any commitment, will worsen their own position. So yeah, really interesting by Magnus. And despite the computer saying 0.0, it's one of those positions it could swing, right? If one side is careless.
One bad move, exactly.
One bad move here from Jan, and we could see the evaluation bar shoot up. So, okay, really tense moment.
Wow, very symmetrical. And when we do have these very symmetrical pawn situations on the board, is that very drawish? Is it very tense? What is those positions usually like?
Bit of both.
Well, it depends what kind of symmetrical. So, for example, on the queen side, you can see here the pawns are not actually facing off against each other. There's no captures available. But there's a symmetrical on the king side where there are all of these pawn captures. So it depends if there's, as David used the technical term, which is tension, which means captures available, or whether there's no tension, as you can see on the queen side. So it really does depend. But I would be getting a little nervous here if I was Jan, actually, because after king f6, king f3, it feels as though the onus is on black to be precise and not white. It feels as though I need to find the precise moves now as black. I'm sure it's still fine objectively. I'm sure David is going to double-check that, but I would be taking white here. I really like this move f4 by Magnus. And
I was just checking on how precise black has to be.
Not
It's
very.
not very
No, he
precise.
can do anything.
Yeah, I'm just checking with Ceci, and it's kind of saying just retreat the light squared bishop. You can also step forward with a king. Absolutely fine. Also stepping forward with a rook, good. I mean, you start to become a little bit imprecise when you start putting your king in the line of in the diagonal of the light squared bishop. But
he's not going to
do that.
Yeah.
And when you start just pushing random pawns forward, then it's
got an
not
idea.
that great for black.
I'll just mention that 20 of the 24 legal moves are still fine for black. So
Yeah.
there is a margin for error here. Lawrence.
I've got an idea, but I think I'm going to leave that because this might be a good opportunity. If black does play the move bishop d7, the move, you might want to do it there because there's a certain idea that I've got. I'm not going to mention it.
Okay.
Do you know what I think you know what I'm talking about.
I have no.
No, you have no idea.
I think I do, but I'm not.
Of course he does.
Is it?
You
that
know,
one?
it's
Is
that
it this one? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah. So that, I mean, I don't know because otherwise, well, it's your challenge. You could, but I thought that could be a cute little guess the move.
Ooh, should we do guess the move now or on the next move?
I think you have to
Probably
wait.
next.
Wait for Jan's. Yeah, wait for Jan's move, and then I think we might be able to.
So it's getting close then.
Yeah.
It's getting interesting. I mean, I'm curious what Jan will do. What does he do?
Whoa.
Wow, what?
He takes the pawn. Okay.
Okay.
So we thought this was hasty. We thought that this might give white some chances, but Jan has worked out that he can indeed get away with it. Oh, we don't see your idea in action there,
I was
Lawrence.
going to say you're going to have to show us your crafty idea at some point.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, but
We'll
meanwhile,
get to that in a moment.
Who's this looking good for right now, though?
possibly both equally good. I think, okay, Jan has done some very deep, very accurate calculation to ensure he is fine. And yeah, I think I've worked out the key variation myself. And Jan should indeed be okay here. We've seen a trade of pawns, lots of pawns coming off. This last bishop move by black does trade the bishops off. So the vacuum cleaner is out, as Jovanka always tells me. The vacuum cleaner hoovering off all the pieces. White's rook is attacked. And when white's rook gives a check, black will block with his knight.
And on f takes g5, king g6
the king will run
idea.
forward.
So white will temporarily be a pawn up, but that pawn won't last very long on the board. It won't survive much longer, and Magnus, you can tell on his body language, he's not overly optimistic. He gives a check. Black will block because the white rook cannot be allowed to go and hoover up those pawns on the 7th rank.
And there we saw Jan Nepomniachtchi on the camera visibly sigh. You know,
He knows he's
he
making...
knows it's going to end in a draw, and he's that small step closer to the edge of defeat. There's no going back.
Yep. And pawn takes pawn on the board. There we go. The key move that Lawrence mentioned there, king to g6, attacking the white rook, and also, as importantly, attacking the white pawn. Wow. Everything's disappearing. It's going to be complete symmetry. Rook and knight versus rook and knight. No imbalance at all. Magnus just looking at the score sheet, looking at the clock. Maybe he's wondering, when can he offer that draw? When
What
are they going
move
to get
are
to
we
move
on
40?
here, actually?
33.
33, OK.
It's about to be Magnus.
Rook h3 will be played, I guess, by
move.
Magnus.
Yeah.
But what about giving a check?
And then the black king will take the g5 pawn.
Yeah.
And yeah, no real...
There's nothing there. OK, yeah, I agree with you. The rook is going to
Rook
step all the way
h3,
back. Or
king takes pawn, and then rook e3. Just offer the exchange of rooks, I guess.
See everything disappear.
Yeah.
I think
It's David Copperfield time.
So I guess the drama is about to be off in this game. But there is some drama in the chess world, you guys. I have some bad news.
Uh-oh.
Apparently, news from FIDE that Rapid and Blitz World Championship, it's not cancelled right now, but it's not going to be held in Kazakhstan due to new COVID restrictions in Kazakhstan.
It's going to be held in London.
In Norway.
Yes, let's organise it, you guys.
It's going to be organised next door to us, right here at the studio.
What are they saying?
So basically, the news from FIDE is that Kazakhstan cannot organise it because the COVID restrictions in the country, they can't admit players from different countries. And so FIDE is saying they will try to find another organiser. But what is it, in 2 weeks, basically? That must be
My apartment is not that big, but
come on.
I could have a good 30 players.
Yeah.
Let's just minimize the tournament a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not that great at cooking. I can learn a few things, make a few sandwiches.
You can offer up the prize money as well, Lawrence.
Yeah, that's not going to be too... Yeah, that ship has sailed. But he does go to H3 in the meantime. That'll be interesting to find out where they decide to hold it, if at all. Because how quick you can't? How do you organise a tournament in 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
I was actually going to use tomorrow to decide whether to go or not, or whether to book flights or not. So,
really?
Okay. Good timing.
Yeah,
Good
that's
timing.
very good timing.
Well, come, let's have it in Oslo then. So then
I would love it in
then
Oslo.
you all can play. Yeah.
You know what? The only problem is it's over the Western Christmas.
Yeah.
Actually, is Christmas celebrated here on the 25th as well?
24th is
24th.
you know the big day in Norwegian Christmas. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate the timing. Well, I'm talking about me. I mean, a few players if you celebrate that time with your family, but it is difficult to find a time for everybody. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's hope they can organise it. Magnus, I think he's actually said he will play it.
Well, he loves to play.
Yeah.
It's one of his favourite tournaments.
He loves quick chess and he wants the titles. He wants to be the triple world champion, classical, rapid and blitz.
Yeah.
He's a greedy guy. He wants
He wants all of them. And, OK, the pitcher is freezing, but Jan, I think he made a move.
Yeah. Talking of greed, Jan did regain that pawn that he was down, and now Magnus gives a check with the white rook. We could actually see the game end over the next few turns if white continues checking the black king.
That's true.
I think that might be the way this game will end now. There we go. Magnus gives another check. We didn't have time for guess the move today, unfortunately, but maybe 2 tomorrow.
On Friday.
On Friday.
On Friday. Thank you.
Tomorrow is the rest day.
Day of rest.
Yep. Well, we are getting closer to move 40, which is good news for us in the prediction challenge.
Yes, and OK, no more checks temporarily. Magnus chooses to bring the white knight forward, but this position is just as drawn as they come, right? No way to
Hoping
imbalance
for
it.
the move rook f8, perhaps.
Yeah, as long as black doesn't walk into a nasty knight fork. Yeah, so the rook f8 move would allow white's knight to go up to g6 and check the black king and win the black rook. Rook h8 as well. Also a blunder. There are a few blunders in the position for black. You don't want to put your knight on a loose square either. Knight to f5 would lose here, or at least lose a pawn. Maybe not even the game.
Basically, black can play anything as long as he's not... well, the knight doesn't come in and give a check, and also the king. The black king doesn't step itself in the eye line of the rook, but no one is going to do this.
King d6.
Yeah, the black king moving to a safe square.
And how many moves are we?
We are
30
4 moves away now.
From my golden 40.
You guessed 40.
I did guess 40.
Catching up with me in the prediction challenge.
But unfortunately, I didn't guess.
I guess the draw, so I'm going to gain 2 points there. I guess that it's 100% sure right now that the draw is income.
99.5%.
Okay.
It's like Magnus said with the match, yeah, it's not 100%. Nothing's ever 100% till it's done.
True. That's true.
We could see Magnus spend 40 minutes on one move here, lose on time, you never know.
That would be a shock.
That would be the biggest shock that we've ever seen, but it won't happen. Jan just finishing his tea there.
Yeah, looks he's running out of tea as well, Jan Nepomniachtchi. There it is. Well, it's kind of sensible though, right, for Jan Nepomniachtchi. You know, it's been just going so horribly wrong for him over the last few games. You can understand he doesn't want to sit there for many hours. Maybe just want to finish this off.
Yeah, I can understand that opinion, but this is the World Championship match, and it's his moment in the sun, it's his moment in the limelight, and I do think that he should go for it, and he should really try to entertain everyone and die a hero, basically.
Yep. Go down in glory, and that's what he'll have to do when we come back after the rest day. This opening choice, we weren't a fan. Are we fans now of the Petrov defence? This was quite predictable, the course of the game. Some small pressure and then eventually a draw.
Can I just say, obviously it should be a draw, but how do you force a draw here?
Is Magnus playing for the win?
I don't know if Magnus is playing for the win, but it's move 37 and maybe he's saying, well, OK. How do you actually force a draw here? Just somebody explain it to me, because I don't see it. For example, if black plays the move knight to e6 here,
Well, the rook can move to that square, right?
Right, rook to f7 suddenly exists, and I'm chomping at all the pawns on the queen side. If you play a move like rook to e6, then I've got a gorgeous square on e5 for the knight. And suddenly rook f7, rook d7 is a checkmating idea, should be pointed out.
If you're careless and if you move a pawn, then suddenly attack the knight. Knight moves. Whoops. What?
An Arabian mate of sorts there.
Is this an Arabian mate? Jovanka knows all the names.
Oh, is it not?
No, it's not an Arabian mate.
What's the name of this one?
What is it?
This one looks a little bit more like a hook mate.
Oh, a hook mate, maybe, yeah. Whatever it is, it's checkmate, and it's the end of the game. So Jan has to be precise here, which is why he spent a moment. Now, again, of course, this should be a draw with some precise move, but I personally actually don't see the precise move.
There are traps, yeah.
Do you see it, David?
Maybe could you just bring the knight to e6?
And if rook
and
f7?
If rook to f7, attacking some pawns, I want to attack your knight. And if you move the knight, you're actually threatening checkmate now
and
again. Then now I pin you and trade everything off.
That's a surprise.
I think he's got the same idea in mind, or a similar idea. So in the game, he didn't go for this. Instead, he played rook to e6, previously attacking the white knight. The white knight did step back into the centre, and now he wants to move the black knight. I think he's going to go to e8, and he's going to try and trade rooks in this manner. So no time, unfortunately, to deliver your beautiful checkmates here, because black will just give a check, and the rooks will disappear. And this would be a definite draw. No more chances if the rooks do get traded. So Jan, in the current position, just mulling over this move. It might be a key move, actually. I'm not sure if it's the only one to survive. I don't think you want to go to this edge of the board because you might get trapped. You've got to be a bit careful here. So this looks the safest to me.
But,
can I carry on? Sorry, can I still carry on here? Let me just play a rook.
Maybe you start with this one.
Oh yeah, sorry, king e3 first, and rook f6 and rook h3, right, like this.
And now you want to come in again, behind.
But when the rook is on e6, even the rook getting to the 7th rank is not that dangerous because black is going to go, cool, I'm going to drop my rook back.
Right.
And
so, for example, if you push a pawn, then you can always just defend the 7th rank.
True.
Yeah, no problem.
That being said, this knight does look very impressive. Black's knight, not the best piece in the world anymore.
That's true.
A moral victory for Magnus.
It's a moral victory. Let's have a look.
Symbolic at best, but OK, we did predict it. The black knight drops back. I wish I had £1 for every time we predicted a move, Lawrence.
Yeah. OK, well, hang on a second.
OK.
Magnus is in a peaceful mood. He doesn't want to continue the game.
And these rooks are about to leave the board. Let's go back to the players because we could see a result any moment now. And will we see that handshake? Magnus playing on. Rook takes rook. The knight will recapture and draw any second now.
Will they offer?
They can now.
They can now.
This is move 40. I think you might be right because unless Jan has said something to offer the draw, it's move 41.
Yay! Well.
Okay.
I liked my points in the prediction challenge. Yeah. Let's hear what's been said in the venue. Nothing so far. Oh, that's a first.
Nothing to say.
No. Very solid game by both players. Not much to discuss, no critical moments necessarily. Just very, very solid performance.
Wow. Well, that's going to take Magnus Carlsen half a point closer to the overall victory. He now needs 1 point to defend his title, 6.5 points. Do you think, you guys, that that's going to happen in Game 11 on Friday, or will it take 2 more games, or even more if Jan Nepomniachtchi goes for that win and manages to get it?
Well, of course, we want as many games as possible. We would love to see Nepomniachtchi strike back. He's got white next. If he wins that, maybe Magnus will get nervous. That being said, if Jan does completely kind of bin this strategy of being solid and go for it, then that comes with risk.
Yeah.
And we could see Magnus strike to end the match. I'm going to say it's going to be 2 more games. But, yeah, it's hard to call at this stage.
Yeah. Are you surprised with the result today, Lawrence, or maybe more about tactics from Jan?
As I say, if it was me, I wouldn't have played that way because I don't like leaving it to the last minute to try and save the match. I think Jan is talented enough to put pressure on with the black pieces if he gets the kind of position. So But maybe yesterday was just so mentally draining for him that he just wanted to get this game out the way, refresh for the rest day, and then come back and just go all in basically for the last 4 games, and that's what he has to do. He has to try and win with every colour. Every game is a must-win game, so I expect fireworks in the remaining games. Basically.
Norwegian television will interview Magnus first in Norwegian, and then Tanya will hear from him to get reactions in English. Now, Magnus, how do you think he is feeling after the draw? I mean, he's getting very close now to winning the match.
I think he feels fine, you know. I mean, he's 3 points ahead in the match. You know, he's done his job, which is just to inch forward towards retaining that title. So why else should he be bothered about whether he had chances to play on for a win? He's done what needs to be done, and that's it. Now he's going to be feeling rather fresh and energetic on the rest day, and with his support network around him, I'm sure it's a very, very good mood in the camp.
Yeah. They're going to have a rest day tomorrow, and Magnus is ready in Dubai.
Magnus, given the match situation, were you surprised to see a Petrov?
Yeah, I didn't particularly think he would do that, but I guess he was in damage limitation mode at this point.
And the move knight c6 looked like a new one. Is that something you were familiar with?
Yeah, it was a bit surprising because I thought this move order was not supposed to be that good. But I guess you have to play bishop e3 in order to try and do something against it, and I was not in the mood for that. So, yeah, I guess it was all right. And yeah, after c3, then it's pretty boring.
Yeah, and it looked like the kind of game where both players are fine with the draw. Would that be a reasonable summary?
Sure, but I was certainly a little bit better at some point. But maybe I was a bit rash in playing g4 and bishop f4. Maybe I needed to put the bishop on h6 or something instead and be a little bit more patient, because I thought I had a really tiny edge at that point.
All right, thank you.
Damage limitation for Jan Nepomniachtchi is how Magnus Carlsen assesses what Jan did at the board today. And, well, should we take a look at it, David? Did Magnus, he says it himself, maybe slight chances at some point?
Yeah, maybe slight chances. And just to jump in at the moment that Magnus himself highlighted, it was here that he did decide to maybe make that push to try and at least test Jan a bit. He pushed this pawn forward, forcing the knight back, and now he traded bishops. This did lead, however, to a lot of liquidation. I think the key move actually to save the game for Jan, or to at least force the draw, was to push this pawn to g5, attacking the white knight, and also this next move, f5, just completely obliterating this pawn structure. There was some tension later on, there were some tricks in the air, but eventually these 3 pawns got traded off for white's 3 pawns, and the game was just a simple draw. Magnus himself, though, he did mention that maybe a bit more sophistication, a bit more nuance was needed. He mentioned this move, bishop to h6, where maybe the bishop is a bit of a thorn in black's side. Later on, the white rook can choose a square to go to, and maybe saving this idea for later would have been more effective. That being said, it was tiny margins, and most likely the game would have ended it in the draw anyway. I think Magnus, at least, won't be too disappointed with the result.
Yep, there it is. Game 10 is a draw. Magnus Carlsen is still by far in the lead in the match. It could be over on Friday if Magnus wins game, 11 on Friday. Or it could be 2 more games, or even 3, if Jan is able to make a comeback at some point. We're going to have a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the press conference in a few minutes.
Today, more than ever, when the world comes together to create a better tomorrow.
It's going to be magic.
La magie. Magic.
Magic with music.
With architecture.
With colors.
Magic with celebration.
With your safety.
From here.
There.
And everywhere.
For 6 whole months, day and night.
Join the making of a new world, starting October 1st.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world, fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to Chess24 Global. Game 10 has ended with a draw in Dubai, and that makes the situation quite dramatic for Jan Nepomniachtchi. Magnus is now 1 point away from defending his title. So, Tanya, what are the reactions in Dubai to Game 10 ending with a draw?
Yeah, Kaja, I think with this, it gets more and more tough for Jan. The nightmare continues. 3-point deficit, and now just 4 games remaining. Really tough to see where Jan will find his chance. I think when we spoke to Magnus after the game, it was clear that he was tired, and both players felt Jan probably wanted to stop the bleeding, while Magnus happy with the draw. And for reactions, we've got a lot of chess personalities with us. Joining us one more time is Grandmaster Alex Sharlovich. Now, Alex, you were analyzing the opening. Do you think this was a logical outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, Jan wanted to stop the bleeding, as you also said, and well, apparently Magnus didn't mind. So
yes, I think that sums it up perfectly. We also have with us woman grandmaster Ketty. She's joining us today in Dubai. Ketty, what has been your impressions of the match so far?
I've arrived here like 2 days ago, and I just love to be here in Dubai at Expo and at the World Championship match. This is my first time, but I want just to make it very often to go at World Championship match, because it's really, really nice to be here around, and I love this atmosphere.
Katie, it's super nice to have you, and with everything that you do to popularize the game as well, thank you for that. And we also have with us Grandmaster Yevgeny Romanov. Yevgeny, now Jan gets back on the board with the white pieces after the rest day. What are you expecting?
Perhaps this is the last fighting game gonna be. This is what I expect. As predicted, everything happened. So both players got the rest day. Jan got some time to recover. His team got some time to work on. I believe it's also going to be switched for this C4 stuff, what has been played in the previous game, and both teams going to work in the opening. So that's kind of the last chance for Jan. This is what I expect, and you know, like bleedy game is coming. This is what we all have to watch in a couple of days.
Thank you so much for that, Yevgeny. So there we have it. White for Jan in Game 11. Everyone is expecting a bloody fight in that one, because it really is Jan Nepomniachtchi's last chance.
Definitely, yeah. Thanks, Tanya, for the reactions from Dubai. And I think definitely we have to start looking forward to Game 11. I mean, Jan with the white pieces, there must be some blood coming in that game.
Yeah, I mean, he's helped us hype it up in a way by going for this draw. It means he's going to throw everything at that one game, that one opportunity. He'll have white. He's got to adopt a different approach. We saw him use the English opening yesterday. Maybe something similar. Maybe he'll push his king's pawn and go for something maybe a bit more direct, a gambit. He has to try something new. It has to be all-out attack, something that Magnus won't expect or hasn't faced before. And whether that works or not, we'll see, but it's all on that game.
Yeah. Do you think now, Lawrence, that this will be decided on Friday? I mean, because if Magnus wins it, it's over.
Yeah, well, it all depends on how much risk Jan wants to take. I've got a feeling it won't be decided in the next game, actually.
Another draw?
Or
a win for Jan?
I actually want Jan to win, to be honest. I think just for the sake of the competition, for the fans worldwide, I think they would like to see a bit more of a tense finale, because if it's not a win for Jan, it's really the end. And we want to see excitement. We want to see Magnus he's had a very smooth championship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been just a moment, but it's really been a half moment where he's been uncomfortable. And since Game 6, of course, everything has gone his way. So I want to see how Magnus actually faces a bit of adversity. And I think it's good for the game, actually. I think it's good for chess. But it all depends on what Jan does. So the ball is in Jan's court, and there's nothing else to say.
But of course, we have to be honest. I mean, there is hardly any chance left for Jan Nepomniachtchi. He has to win 3 out of 4 games. The chances are just so minimal. But how much of it is now pride for him to go out of this World Championship match with pride as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I've been in such situations, I've had a horrendous tournament, but the last stages, I'm like, well, let's just learn. Let's just go to the chessboard, have fun. Result doesn't matter. And that's exactly what Jan has to do. And just to echo Lawrence's thoughts, just looking at yesterday's heartbreak, a lot of us really felt for Jan there. We really felt it when he just looked devastated on the board. So we also want to see some entertainment. We want to see the underdog just rise up and make a little bite out of the world champion. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And it is, like you say, a huge task, because the last time Magnus lost the World Championship game was in 2016.
Yeah.
It's like a long time ago.
He's only lost 2, right, in World Championship history.
That's
once
right.
against Vichy and once against Karyakin.
Yeah, and he had that 125-game unbeaten streak. When he doesn't want to lose, he normally doesn't. So, yeah, against one of the most solid players in history, Jan needs to win 3 out of 4. It's... Yeah.
The odds are probably in. I don't know what I want to estimate them, but
I mean, if
there will be
miracles
some
exist, then I think
there are some stat guys out there that could probably tweet us what the actual odds are. But
I saw some figures, and they were like 0.03. I mean,
0.03%. We're in that territory. So, but miracles do happen. It's the festive season.
Yeah.
Miracles of Christmas.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Who knows? You'll have to all watch, of course. There's only one way to find out.
Exactly. And even if that miracle, chances are very small. What are the chances for entertainment, David, then, in Game 11 on Friday?
I think entertainment is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So we can't guarantee a win for Nepomniachtchi. We can't guarantee the match will be over or anything, but we can guarantee entertainment. Whether he uses a gambit, whether he uses a completely brand new strategy, he's throwing everything at that game. I mean, it's as if in poker he's putting all his chips in the middle now because he doesn't have many chips left, simply.
Yeah.
And, I think excitement on both parts. I think Magnus will actually embrace that and allow Jan to show something, because it would be a fitting end to the match, at least if Jan does go down in flames.
Yeah. And we are waiting for the press conference to start in Dubai. Definitely entertainment on Friday is what David is saying. We are so glad that all of you around the world is watching and following the match. And now let's take a look at your selfies. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing your selfies and for watching the World Championships together with us. We are enjoying having you guys on board. The press conference in Dubai is about to start, so let's go down there.
No, I mean, the problem that basically playing as black, you don't have such a big choice, and I mean, especially it's classical, even if you play so-called sharp opening, like Sicilian, if white wants to shut it down, white surely will shut it down, so that's, you know, not realistic. Anyway, you know, I have like a couple of white pieces, a couple of tries in the remaining 4 games, and I mean, of course, it depends on what would I produce in 11th game. But today was just, I mean, was just an idea to play a normal game, try not to blunder something in one move. Yeah, so I had some more realistic tasks.
You've only got, like you said, 4 games left. 3 games, you have to catch up for 3 points, a 3-point deficit.
I know.
Your strategy is still heavily trying to win this match?
Well, that's an absurd question.
Okay. You were at the board seemingly a lot more today than usual. What was the reason for that?
I guess the chair is more comfortable than sofa, yeah. But I mean, actually, today's game, yeah, was more or less obvious that it won't, you know, last too long. But wasn't, you know, a big difference where to sit.
Magnus, draw, great result for you?
Yeah. At this point, I mean, there's so few games to go that any draw is, yeah, it's an excellent result.
Your choice of knight d3 in the opening instead of knight f3, what motivated that?
Mainly the prospects of getting the queens off very soon and getting a drive position.
So can I assume that for you now, it's just shut it all down and get out of here?
I mean, I very much assume he's gonna try and win, especially with the white pieces. But sure, any half point that I can get is great, and I think that's, yeah, it's pretty obvious.
All right, I'll open the floor to reporters to ask questions. Again, use the mics on the side and be sure not to touch the microphones and always wear your mask, please.
Sagar Shah from Chessbase India. My question is to Magnus. Jan's knight c6 move in the opening, did it surprise you? It's a new move. And why did you opt for c3? And did you think of bishop e3 maybe there? It's a possibility.
Yeah, for sure. Knight c6 was a bit of a surprising move order to me. And as you said, bishop e3 is a move there. And surely the critical one. But I was just not in the mood. You know. Yeah, I think the match situation sort of explains that. Frankly, I hadn't thought about him playing the Petrov today at all. I was preparing for various sharp openings that he could play, and the thought was, if he goes 1e5, then, you know, I'll see. I didn't think like making a draw against the Petrov would be a major issue.
Thank you. Rune from Chess24. Question to both players. Let's start with Magnus. What was the most interesting moment or moments of the game to you?
Yeah, there wasn't that much to talk about. I was fairly happy with the move g3 at some point. I kind of thought I might be getting a very slight edge at that point. and then probably I needed to be a bit more patient later on, since I was kind of hoping that after allowing this g5 to happen, that I could provoke f5 f4 maybe later on, and then start pushing with h4. But it all holds very well together for black. There's nothing. I think if I'd played a little more patiently there, I could have had the tiniest of edges, but naturally would have hunted it for it more diligently if the match situation had been different.
Okay, thank you. And Jan?
Well, I guess it was a huge moment when White didn't go for bishop e3. Okay, you know, bishop. I mean, in the opening, yeah, there's bishop e3, g5, knight d3, or something like this. Yeah, so this would, I know, spice things up a little bit. But yeah, maybe g6 was somewhat slow, so I should have played rook e8, knight g2, bishop g4 immediately. Yeah, not to allow this structure. Yeah, with my light square bishop being restricted. But yeah, I guess after g5, f5. So I was sort of concerned about like him playing a4, e5 at first, and only then going for this g4. Yeah, but I mean, okay, after g4, f5, I didn't really see White is going for something realistic. But of course, okay, I needed to be precise, not to blunder, as I used to do before. But yeah, in general, it's, you know, not much, not a lot of excitement today.
Okay, thank you.
I think he was first, really.
Oh, please.
Hans Solbakken from NRK. Question to both players. FIDE today decided that Kazakhstan in the Christmas time, the Rapid and Bliss is cancelled for Kazakhstan. They're working with the plan B to arrange it somewhere else. What do you think about that?
Well, I believe with all this, you know, Omicron story, yeah, it's pretty, I don't know how to say. It's pretty normal, yeah, at some point that all major sporting events are being closed or postponed. So that's the reality we live in. So, I mean, of course, it's a pity, but as for me, I didn't decide yet if I would love to play in World Rapid and Blitz or skip it this year if it will be held.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. Generally, I'm hoping to play if it's still held. Yeah, otherwise it's a pity, but obviously it's not a lot you can do.
Now they're working with another plan.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
Mike Klein with chess.com. My question is for Magnus. Magnus, you've not been in this situation since 2014, protecting a lead coming down to the wire. You've already explained some of your decisions today. You're normally a very uncompromising player, so did you have to be convinced of this pragmatic approach today, or did you make this decision all on your own?
No, there was some discussion in my team, but I was definitely not pushing for something, yeah, for a different approach, let's say.
Hi, this is Anna Cromling reporting from my channel, Anna Cromling. This is a question for both players. If you could only play e4 or d4 for the rest of your lives, which move of the two would you choose and why? Thank you.
Magnus?
Yeah, it's a little bit different from other questions. Thank you. I would probably go for e4. Seems like there's a little more variety there in both closed and open games. But otherwise, I'm thinking that It's probably enough theory that we have already, and it's difficult enough to get an opening advantage. So to actually be restricted to only one move would be a bit of a nightmare.
Well, I guess 100 years ago or about it, someone, Rouser told that, okay, why just wins after the first move e4? So quite something changed since then, but yeah, in general, overall, it feels like e4 is nowadays more forcing, but at the same time, you know, I would say more fun. So let it be e4.
Okay, thank you.
Chess.com again, I'll also try my hand at a non-topical question for once. If either of you could choose any second in history to be on your current team, that is any player that's ever been alive to be on your current team, who would it be and why? Questions for both players.
Yeah.
I'm pretty satisfied with the team I have.
I'm also very satisfied with the team that I have, but maybe Kramnik in '96. He seemed to be a good second for Gary. Probably pretty annoying, but still very interesting.
Why would he be annoying?
I think that's self-explanatory.
So, Magnus, you have always been wanted to be a world champion in classical, rapid, and it's also blitz. So, my question to you is, what's your take on World Bullet over the board championship?
That sounds like a nightmare and pretty unrealistic. I think we're just not fast enough, not even close for that to be for that to be realistic. So I think speed chess in general over the board, it's good to have increment. It makes it better.
Thank you. And I would also like to know Nepo's opinion here.
Sorry, could you please repeat?
What do you think about World Bullet Championship over the board?
Well, if only it would be held, you know, with some wooden pieces, so it would, you know, make some sense. But apart of this, playing Bullet online, I would say that there are quite a lot of computer games which require some nice reaction and also very, very interesting. And that's why I normally prefer these games instead of bullet games.
Thank you.
Ole Kristianström, VG Norway. Question for Magnus. Is the title in classical chess more prestigious for you than Rapid and Blitz, or can you compare them?
Yeah, they're comparable in the sense that the classical title is only it's only contested every 2 years, and Rapid and Blitz is at least supposed to be every year. So I think that answers the question. Apart from that, I'm really happy that the effort has been made to organize Rapid and Blitz Championship the last few years, and it's certainly added something special to the calendar, and it's obviously very prestigious as well.
Thank you.
Hans Orbakken, NRK again. Question to Magnus. What activity do you hope Magnus Barstad is preparing for you tomorrow? Paddle, basketball, football? What do you hope for?
Well, I can also choose myself, but I will tell you what my plans are for tonight. They will. I hope to see two all-time greats bust out of their respective competitions, namely Barcelona and Bent Lakewell.
Question along a similar vein from chess.com for Magnus. You'll forgive me, my memory's not that good. In 2014 in Sochi, there was some discussion of you going around the Formula One track that was in the city. I don't know if that actually happened, but Formula One is also taking place in Abu Dhabi. Do you have any interest in going around that track?
Let's just say I've yet to be convinced about Formula One. I don't see the point. I think it's, it's just not for me.
There are no more questions by the journalists, so I will ask a question that was sent by Twitter at FeedHS. You can send your questions to @FeedHS, and it may be asked on this show. At 13M5 from Luis Mendesi to Nepo, if given the chance to reset the tournament to start again, I guess they mean the match to start again, what would you have done differently?
I guess I would lose less and win more.
Thank you for that. That concludes the press conference. Tomorrow's a rest day. The next game will be on Friday at 16:30. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Well, that was a long and nice press conference. Some questions about not chess stuff. Did they seem quite happy, both of them, at least Magnus?
Yeah, Magnus obviously in a good mood, looking forward to the rest day tomorrow. Jan, same as ever, impressing in the press conference, not giving too much away, still keeping some mystery, still keeping his optimism up for Game 11 on Friday.
Yeah, and being Norwegian, I can reveal Magnus's plans for tonight. So he said he wanted to watch 2 all-time greats, Barcelona, of course, the football team, and he said Bent Leikvoll, and that is a character in a Norwegian advent calendar reality show, parody of a reality show called The Santas Playing in the Hay. Yeah. So that's apparently what he's going to be doing tonight. Tomorrow is a rest day, and let's see if he's going to play some sports, go to Aqualand. What would you guys do in Dubai? So much to do. Desert, camels.
I mean, anything in Dubai to get us out of the cold here in Oslo, basically. I'm sure it would be something to do with sport, but not too exerting.
Yeah. We have to check out the prediction challenge, you guys. It's getting close to the finish. And David's been on top of the table for a long time. Then he had a little bit of a setback yesterday. But are you doing a little bit better now? Let's see. David, 106 points in 3rd place.
3rd place, but I think no more chances. Papatronics and Evie, they're just too good, too strong. Maybe it's Magnus and Nepo themselves taking part in the challenge.
Maybe that is it. Well, but there is a potential 25 points, right? Every round. So, I mean, it's not over.
It's not over till it's over, till the fat lady sings, as they say. But yeah, either way, I've got to congratulate everyone who's playing in this because some great predictions so far.
Yep. And Jovanka in 83rd place in the world, also great. I'm super happy. Look at me. No, in 41st place, and I'm top 200, and I'm super happy about that. In the prediction challenge, you can still enter, everyone. Few games, definitely 1 game left in the World Championship match, maybe more. Let's take a look at the results in the World Championship match. It's getting very close for Magnus Carlsen to defend his title. First player to reach 7.5 points, and he is now on 6.5 points. So that means 1 more point if he wins the game on Friday. The match is over. If it is a draw, then he only needs a draw in Game 12 to be the winner. If Jan wins that game, well, then at least we do have a little bit of interesting stuff to talk about in the last 4 games. Our schedule, as always, we start at 1 o'clock CET in Europe, and the game starts, as always, 4:30 Dubai time. That is local time. And Lawrence, it's been great to have you here in the studio.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's been great.
Today's game was kind of short, maybe the shortest game so far in the match.
Yeah, today was very short. Obviously, yesterday was a really bizarre but interesting day, and it was great to be. It was great to be here today. Thanks so much for having me, and let's just hope for fireworks on Friday, and that we get a really exciting game. So.
And that's what you're predicting, right, Jovanka?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Nepomniachtchi, he has to go all out for the win. He's only, 3 games left, and Magnus is only 1 point away from retaining the championship title. Yeah, he has to go for it. He has to throw everything at Magnus.
And David has guaranteed entertainment. Either way, it's going to be a great day for chess. Either Magnus Carlsen will defend his title, Jan Nepomniachtchi will win the game, or we will get very close to the finish of the World Championship match. So it could be the last day, you guys. So please join us again on Friday for Game 11. And to everyone around the world for watching, thank you so much, and have a great day.